Have I been a terrible fool, Arthur?
I don't know. I don't know enough about it. But one thing I do know, there ain't no shame in looking for a better world. You know, nothing means more to me than this gang, the bond we share. It's the most real thing to me. I would kill for it, I would happily die for it.
Tell the truth, I ain't even sure I fully understand Dutch's plan with all this.
Like I said, John, when the time comes, you go. You keep killing folk, Dutch. I'm just trying to make sure that some of us survive, Arthur.
What about loyalty to everything?
You've been loyal. I've been loyal. Look what that caused. You know, all that ever mattered to me was loyalty. That's all I knew. I wish things were different.
Got tuberculosis. Really sorry for you, son.
What am I gonna do now?
Be grateful that for the first time, you see your life clearly.
I'm afraid.
Perhaps you could help somebody.
You saved my life. You're a good man, and
But I'm not a good man. Not usually.
You lived your life like a man, Arthur, and you turned into a good man.
I ain't looking for forgiveness. It ain't about that.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Arthur.
Your journey, your path will be just fine.
I'm worried my path is coming to an end, Mr. Smith. We ain't both gonna make it. I'll hold them on.
Take a gamble that love exists. And do a loving act.
If we were all like you, things might have turned out differently.
Thank you.
Arthur saved my life before he passed. I don't talk about him much, but I think about him.
Linda!
I thought you were going to say, let's ride.
No, I thought I'd save that for the end.
Oh, so glad you're all here. As you can see, this is an episode that has been 102 episodes of live streams and 4 years in the making. Because we've been talking about doing this episode back when it was just Duke and I on his channel. And then when it was Snapper and Duke and I, Snapper talked about doing this episode. And for years and years, we've been up to it, front and back of it, and all around it, but never actually did it. And then on September 19th of this year, Sheldon started playing. And then I started playing. And then everybody started playing. And the next thing you know, Sheldon's like, let's just do it. And I was like, well, we've talked about it for years. Let's just do it now. We had discussed on September 19th, we were going to do this on the 1st of October as a show. And then I think even though most of us have played it through 3 or 4 times, we all forgot just how long it takes to beat this game.
It's a long game.
Does anybody have an actual hour count that they're into it now with all their runs?
I would have to. I'd have to pull it up. I want to say like I'd normally had something like 60 or 70 hours in a playthrough.
Yeah, easy. That's not doing any side missions.
Yeah, that's like just straight through. Yeah.
I hadn't lost all my previous data because I had to re-upload it, and I ran through it with just basically doing straight missions in 110 hours this fall. So, and I did a few side things, but that's just that. But I didn't fast travel anywhere, and I didn't take the stagecoach. I didn't do anything like that. I just rode.
I get lazy quick and use fast travel. It's one of the first things I always buy when you get into the camp and you start buying stuff is the ability to fast travel with Arthur.
All right, so let's introduce ourselves for anybody here who doesn't know what this show's all about. This is normally just a history show, and some of you might be here just for the game, but normally we discuss historic firearms, 19th century clothing, food for me, because I like food, as you can tell. But as we'll go around here, Duke has been a living historian, reenactor, historic interpreter for several historic forts. He did it for a living for a long time. Snapper down here is a collector of original Colt revolvers and Winchesters now. And we just study these things. And Sheldon, of course, is he's our Lenny. No, he's not our Lenny. He's our Charles.
He's our token Lenny. He's our Charles.
Dang.
Starting off on a terrible foot here. Somebody said Lenny, and that's what stuck in my mind. But anyway, Sheldon is a studier of Winchester rifles and Native American warfare and a lot of Northern Plains stuff. And that's Saboteur down there. So anyway, now that you guys know who we all are, let's get into it. First things first. Greatest game ever made, guys?
By far.
It's up there. Between it and the first one.
Yeah, the first one's pretty good.
They just released it on PC finally, the first one. Yeah. It only took like 15 years.
You know, now that it's on PC, it's not going to be long before we're going to see Red Dead 1 with Red Dead 2 graphics.
Oh, I wish they would have done that when they made the game in PC. Just use the engine they made for the second.
And
that would have been amazing.
DLC or something.
Yep.
Yeah,
that would have been cool.
And we're not going to discuss the online thing too much because I've never done it. I don't know if you guys have. Maybe Snapper's done it a little bit.
I did it once.
I did it. It used to be fun when the game first came out because there were a lot of people. But I haven't been on it in probably a year or more, and I'm sure that there's people on it, but it's not like it used to be. So before we could all get together and play and all be in one posse and go around doing stuff. And it used to be fun, but they stopped kind of covering it and adding onto it. So people stopped really playing the online version. So it became boring quick.
They didn't give people what they wanted. They wanted
you're right.
Robbery and
they gave them the 51 Navy and the LeMat. What more could they ask for?
I know.
They never
live your Jesse James dreams.
Yeah.
Well, there used to be some modders that modded the game, and then Rockstar threatened to sue them all into oblivion. So they stopped it. There was a really neat mods from bank robbing to like even farming to what was it? There was a ranching one I did. There was a gold prospecting one I did. You could go be a gold miner, and it was really good. They actually made it really cool, but right away Rockstar jumps in and ruins it for everybody.
All right, so let's just discuss what this thing is. By the way, there's going to be spoilers, guys. If you haven't played it yet, maybe go play it, and then sometime next year come back and watch this when you get done with it. But there's going to be spoilers. But the game itself, AAA title, one of the biggest, probably most expensive games ever made. And I have to always explain this because when I hear a lot of, I talk to a lot of people and it's kind of funny. The story always is it's these reenactors and people, I'll be like Red Dead Redemption, and they'll be like, oh, that's that game. And they'll be like, then you talk to them and you realize they played it. They just don't want to admit that they played a game. You guys notice that?
That's kind of the society, like, especially a couple years ago, it went from, games were for kids. And gaming has kind of changed a lot lately. Now there's amazing Civil War games out there now that make gaming actually, if you're into living history, can really make it interesting. There's a Civil War game. I can't think of the name of it. My son has it, but there are actually like hundreds of people who play it at once, and you could be drafted into their little, company, and you could be a private to a sergeant, and your job is to actually be a sergeant running around and everybody in the game is real, like real people playing this game, and it's a real combat simulator of the Civil War, and it's pretty neat, and they take it real serious. Some of these people, like they take it real. They do drills and everything, and the game. It's kind of amazing. So it's kind of like the living reenactment without having to get out of your house, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of like a VR, almost like a VR.
Yeah, it's quite crazy what people have done.
It's not This isn't Mario Brothers anymore. Not that there's anything
No.
wrong with that. Okay.
No, it's very different these days.
But just look at it like what could be a 10,000-hour movie if you wanted it to be, but it's interactive, like Duke said. It's like
and the world is huge. And the world is huge. If you walk across the world just walking, I think it takes like 6 or 7 hours in real life to walk across the game. Something crazy like that.
Soylent Green says that game you were talking about is War of Rights.
Yeah, that's what it is. War of Rights, yeah.
So let's get into who's here, and then we'll get on to talking about the game a little bit. Soylent Green said, Lenny! Yes, we still haven't found Lenny. Robert said, will this help in Washington State? I guess if you mean to help us, yeah, every view helps. Soylent Green said Lenny was last seen with Gavin, and then we were late, and he said, must have run into that Como Driscoll. Micah was the rat. Yeah, we'll get into that at the end. There's people nowadays saying Micah wasn't the rat. We'll get into that at the end. Yes, he was the rat. Gots Loco said, good evening. Doug, did you play this game recently, or I think somebody texted me or emailed me? Somebody mentioned they were playing the game or commented. I think it was you. Coben Shoughton said, howdy. Shoughton. Sorry about that. Louisiana Gray said, good evening, all. Gots Loco said, the last video game I recall playing on one of my computers was Tetris for my SC30 a day or 3 ago. Yeah, it's been a minute ago. SM said, interesting how in Red Dead 2, the Volcanic is the most powerful handgun, and their version of the 1860 Henry rifle is the most powerful ever. We will get to that, because that's one thing I have a gripe with on this game.
Yeah, they messed the guns up bad.
Well, not terrible. Like the looks and everything are right, but the power.
Oh, the looks are perfect, but the power's the weakest gun in the game is actually the most powerful gun in real life.
Handgun, anyway.
Handgun wise.
I was gonna say because the varmint rifle is probably not the most powerful in real life.
Yeah.
Joshua Harris said, "Hello, gentlemen. Looking forward to this. I'm 91% complete high honor. I'd tear up when my horse died. Hell yeah, I have a.
No, I think everybody did. Now you got to play it in bad honor too, just to experience it. It is a little bit different.
After you've beaten it with good honor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The game changes on your honor.
Yeah, it's like if you get it with one level of high honor, you put Micah's eye out, and
yeah, and if you go back for the money at the end instead of saving John, there's kind of 4 endings you can have in this game.
Yeah. And that brings me to the point a lot of people complain, it's not necessarily a kid's game, we shall say. It can get a lot of people complain about the extreme violence. Well, they've built a system in for that. If you play as an extremely violent character, everything you do will be much more violent. But if you play as an honorable character, not near as much violence as far as graphics go.
Right.
So it's all up to you. However you live, however you want to do it, that's how you do it. Let's see. So Kodak Tackman said, what an intro. Serpent Hanzo said, here we go. Soylent Green said, rubbing hands. Here we go. Diane Houston said, good evening, gentlemen. IWS Bull 1 said, howdy, all. Jared Glendon? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Jared said, hello. Soylent Green said, I'm at 500 hours. LOL. I haven't played in over a year. I did one playthrough and the rest was online with friends, just hanging out. Game hunting and fishing can be peaceful and a true escape. Sad they abandoned the online before it was completed. Snapper's too loud and Duke is too low. You got a volume on your deal, Duke? Can I turn you up?
It's probably because I'm down here. My mic's up there.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll live with it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right, Snapper. Don't worry about it. No biggie. At least we can hear you. Sometimes people say they can't hear me, so I'll just talk louder. Anyway, Soylent Green said, I saw a mod online today of Arthur and Dutch in a lowrider riding through Strawberry. I saved the clip. There was a Star Wars X-Wing also. War of Rights. So Green said, I remember when Red Dead 2 first came out, and they said an average it takes 80 hours to complete the story. Doug Duke said, I started it not far into it. Oh, I don't want to spoil it for you then. But I'm sure you've already been spoiled to most of it if you've looked at anything. Brian N said, hello, everyone. All right, that's everybody in here. So, my first and foremost question, as always, is I want to say, as the guy here who is the most historical reenactment, living history experience, Duke, what drew you to this game and what made you really kind of fall in love with it? Or have you?
Oh, yeah, I'm in love with the game, but I play because when I got into college, that was kind of before I got into the history thing. When I got into college, it was kind of becoming a popular thing, and then I got a roommate that had an Xbox, and he had the game, and so I started playing it, and that was the first Red Dead. So I loved the game, and then, kind of got into the history thing after that, and then when Red Dead 2 came out, that was the whole reason I bought an Xbox. I did not own an Xbox. And so I bought a brand new Xbox right after I moved into the house I'm in right now because I got a dog at the same time. And I bought that Xbox, and then they delayed it for a year, and I was very upset.
Do you remember that? You guys remember the Countdown to Outlaw Days YouTube videos that used to run back in the mid 2010s?
No.
Like there would be every day for like the last 300 days before release, they would release a video. And I think Rockstar was involved in it, but this YouTube channel would release a video every day for like 300 days with just a little tidbit about the game. Man, I was glued to that. I needed a PS4 to play it. I didn't have one. My wife bought me one for my birthday, and it released that winter. And that was it. I was in line. That's the only time I've ever been in line to buy a game on day one. And it's a good thing I did too, because I got the last of 2 of them. It's popular.
Believe it or not, I didn't even know the second one had released at the time because I knew the first one, and I had stepped away from anything game related, doing real worlds, owning shops and doing that kind of stuff. And my son, when he turned 10, I think it was 9, I told him he would finally get his first game system because I wouldn't let him play games when he was younger, only like NES 1, nothing like modern. So we bought him a PS4, and I was like, ooh, I kind of want to play that Red Dead Redemption 1 game. I didn't even know the second one was out. And I think it had been out for a couple months at that time. And then I realized it. I was like, oh, this is cool. And yeah, that was a fun surprise. So at least I didn't have to do the whole waiting up and anticipating thing. It just kind of fell into my lap.
I was waiting for it because, well, go ahead, Sheldon. How did you get tied into this?
I played the first one when it came out back in 2010. My friend and I at the time, we both played a lot of games, and we seen that one coming on. So we it caught our attention, seeing the trailers and stuff on TV. So we played the first one. And then when they announced the second one, I was like, oh, that's cool, finally. And then I didn't really pay much attention to it until it actually came out. But I think I got my copy at a pawn shop.
Well, I started, I never had, growing up, I never had video games. We didn't, we had them, but we always had a generation like 3 before. Like when I was little, had Nintendo, I had Atari. By the time they had Nintendo 64, I got Nintendo. And I still have all that down there. Actually, I still have my old CRT TV here and everything. Still have all the old systems. But I got out at Super Nintendo and I got a job. I was like 13, 14, like never played another game hardly. And I was in the oil field. This has been 2010. And I was in the oil field, and I'll never forget because I was like, video games. I'm not playing those video games, anymore, or anything like that. And this grizzled dude, he was a welder, and he was like 6'4", had this gray beard about this big, just worked all the time. And somebody asked him one day, they're like, "What do you do when you're not, at work?" He was welding, and he's like, "Well, I play video game." And everybody's like, we're like snickered in our back of our sleeve. He's like, "No." He's like, he said, "Do you like Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns?" At the time, I'm not a big spaghetti western fan. I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you like Sons of Katie Elder, John Wayne?" I said, yeah. He said, well, if you like that look, try this game. And he loaned it to me. He hadn't beat it yet. He loaned it to me. He died, and I still have it. That was game one. And so I played that thing through. And, he got killed in a car wreck a few years later. And I was always looking down. I'm like, I still have your game. I'm sorry. You never got to finish it. But anyway, no, some big grizzled welder from the oil field introduced me to a video game called Red Dead Redemption.
You know what's funny is people talk about the second one being bad. The first one had some over the top adult stuff in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one scene that has been edited since then, I've noticed, when I played it last.
Yeah.
I haven't played in such a long time.
Down in Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit more covered up than what was the first time I played through it, because I played through that and I was like, holy Moses.
Cow, yeah.
But anyway, so what do you guys think? First versus second comparison.
I think the first one was really good with one-liners, but it was much more spaghetti western.
Yeah.
The second one is much more believable-ish, and it has more, I don't know, ties to it. You get attached to it more.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I will say this. Controversial take here. It's not a safe place. I realize that. The ending of number one I like better than the ending of number two. It hit me harder.
Yeah.
At that particular time, I knew a couple of guys that went down literally like that at that very same time in the oil field. And so when I was playing through that and I hit that ending, I was like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. But have you guys seen the clip of somebody say John finally takes Arthur's advice? Where it shows the clip of Arthur telling John, when the time comes, run and don't look back. And then it cuts to him in the barn looking out the door. He just turns around and runs out the back door up the hill as fast as he could go. No, but I do believe that I like the ending of the first better. There's nothing wrong with the ending of the second one. Still top tier. But I remember the moment that happened in the first one. I'd actually just come home from a funeral. And it was almost the same situation. And he'd been a friend of mine. Name was CJ, and he'd been in the oil field with me. He had broke me in the oil field, and he got into some trouble with law and wound up either shooting himself or getting shot. And I remember I came home, I picked the game up, had no clue that was coming. And I opened that barn door, and it was just like, wow. And it grabbed me, and I was forever. I don't care what they do wrong. That game will, Rockstar can go off the deep end. I don't care. That game's in my heart.
I still think the first one, the most poignant to me, is when he meets the strange man.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "This is a nice spot." That's literally where he ends up being buried.
Yeah, there were a lot of callbacks. They had to work around that because I don't think they had any clue when they released that Arthur was going to exist. By the way, for you guys that don't know, we have two protagonists here. Almost surely everyone that's still here knows, but we have in game one, we had John. You played as John in the years of 1910, 1911.
That was like
1911.
14.
1911 is when the game takes place, and 1914 is when you take over as
the Epilogue, as his son. Yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So RDR2 is actually a prequel set in the 1890s. Where you play as the guy who kind of broke John in. His name's Arthur Morgan. And give us an Arthur Morgan, Duke.
Remember, John, when the time comes, you got to run and don't look back.
Exactly. When I did that intro and I laid that over your voice, I was like, I don't know if he's talking or not.
Well, according to the intro, Snapper has
tuberculosis.
Oh, I know. I thought that was funny too. I was like, "Oh, great! I'm wearing a
tuberculosis mask." And Sheldon is a good man. I got to get some video footage of Sheldon to make a better intro with.
A little camera shy.
All right, so now that you guys realize we talked about the years, mainly focusing on Red Dead Redemption 2. Maybe we'll do another video someday just on one. But we're sitting here at 1899, which is not that interesting of a time to me, but it is actually a very wise decision by developers because the entire Wild West era is opened up to you and you don't have to worry about somebody saying, that hasn't came out yet. You know, for the most part. It's like set it at the literally last second of the 19th century, and we can have, even though they're rare, you can have semi-automatic shotguns, pump-action shotguns. I think is there a semi-auto rifle? I don't even remember. No, pump-action rifles. Everything you could think of in the Old West, which leads us to the guns. And they did an excellent job with the firearms. I'll let you guys go through. What is your playthrough, and what do you got any comments on it? Because I got a good one from my last playthrough. But go ahead, Duke. What's your go-to guns?
Through this playthrough, I mostly used a Schofield and the whichever one the 66 copy is. Until I got up to the end, then I went to the Litchfield. I think it's Litchfield's the Henry. I swapped over to that one, and then I was using the Mauser there a lot. But that, and then the semi-auto shotgun. That's the first thing. Every time, once I get out of the Coulter up there on the mountain, I go get the 66. I go get the semi-auto shotgun, and see, is there another one? I can't remember, but yeah, I always go get those too because you can get those before you can get the other missions of the game. You get them like the Gunsmith and Rhodes, and then the cabin with the crazy old lady and her crazy sons.
Yeah. There's all kinds of ways to get to it, but have you noticed yourself? And this is very interesting because I actually heard this back in 2017-18 at the World War I Museum. Like they were dying, and then Battlefield 1 came out, and it was a big hit for a long time. And the curator there actually told I was there with Matthias from seeing Arsenal, but he actually told us that he said that they were dead in the water, and that video game came out. And they said that they had like 7-1 people under 30 coming through compared to where it was used to be the 1 over 30 coming through. And he said that video game literally saved the museum at the time. And it's the same thing for Red Dead Redemption. How many people, I mean, look at Dustin Weiniger. How many, them guys all kind of came in on it about the time that was going, and people were just so interested in Old West history and Old West firearms. Now, the real question is, Dick, you've got about every one of your favorite, or shot every one of your favorite firearms out of that game by this point, haven't you? Because you have the 97, you have the Remington Pre-11, you shot the C96, and of course all the standard stuff.
Just the predecessor to the Luger. I can't remember what that is, but it's a semi-auto pistol in there.
I think they got the Bergman.
Well, they got the Bergman, but no, this is the something Luger. Was it the Bergman Luger?
I can't remember.
About the 1899.
It's Dutch's pistol. It's the big one with the big spring on the back.
Oh,
yeah, it's got the big spring. It comes way back here. It was the predecessor to the
Borchardt. Yeah, sorry.
Borchardt Luger. Yeah. Because Luger basically took that design and developed the Luger pistol.
It made it better.
Proved it.
I was thinking of Big Jake. It's a Bergman father model of 1910.
Yeah. And then the high power pistol. I can't remember which that one is, but that one's not. When you look at the caliber of what that was originally, I looked it up one time. It's not a high power, really.
I thought that the semi-auto pistol was more like a Steyr looking.
You talk about like the 1899 FN, like it looks like an FN 1900.
I just remember looking and saying that they were saying that Luger was one of the guys that was on the development of that, and then he basically improved it, and that's what became the Luger pistol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's not the Bergman. The Bergman looks different. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, the Bergman. I looked one of those up. They were actually really rare.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they don't match up with anything in the game.
Yeah. So now though, we love the guns. The fact that they have a trap door, they have a rolling block for long range. They still have a bolt action Carcano long range. They've got your shorter range guns. They got some big loop. Which one's that? Is that the Lancaster? Which one has the big loop?
I don't remember.
But they've got all that. They've got several varieties of shotguns. They all the way down to I think it's a bore shark guns and water. They have all those. Yeah, because he used to work at one point early in his career. He'd work for Winchester, and I always thought it was interesting. If you look at that bore shark, even in the, I think it was him. Basically, they designed everything up to the Luger, and then you look at the Luger, and you're like, that's an upside down Winchester.
Right.
The way the toggle works and everything coming up. But they did so good with the guns. Okay.
Remember, he worked for Sharps, too.
Yeah, because he made the bore sharps. Almost had one. Should not talk about that right now, though. But anyway, Soylent Green said, bore sharp was like Henry. He said his design was perfect and wouldn't improve it, so Luger updated the bore sharp and Winchester updated the Henry. Yeah, that's what it was right there. So
the last antique auction they had here, they had a whole bunch of those bore shark pistols. They're kind of neat. They're ugly as sin in person, and they're pretty big, but kind of neat.
Is that the cartridge that they shot went into the broom handle, and then the design of the gun went to Luger.
Yeah.
Because I just looked it up here on the interwebs. Now, if I can find it, and they said it was George Luger was employed to promote it.
He promoted it, that's for sure.
Yeah, basically turned it into an actual military weapon.
Yep.
Howdy, Gray Pilgrim. So, just back on the subject of guns, it's interesting because a lot of people complain about the game, this and that. Maybe it's got some more mature stuff. You don't have to play the game that way. You can make a hunting, ranching, horse riding, horse breaking simulator out of the whole thing if you want. You can literally just hunt. And there's so much hunting variety, you would never get tired of just hunting and skinning and selling pelts and being a trapper if you want to do it.
Yeah, and kill a mountain lion.
You can even be a bird watcher in this game. I mean, technically, you can, I've never seen, it's crazy. You can actually see other animals kill each other. See an eagle come in and pick up a mouse off the ground. It is the most craziest simulator when it comes to accuracy like that, like real life-ish.
Well, it's funny.
Cool.
I was hunting for a perfect pronghorn. I had two perfect pronghorns going at each other, and the one killed the other one, and I went from a perfect pronghorn to a one-star pronghorn.
Tell us your horror story about the mountain lion pelt.
Oh, God. So that was the other thing I decided I was going to do on this playthrough is I was going to get all the satchel upgrades as quick as I could. So I had them all before I even left Horseshoe Bend. So I was in Chapter 2, and I had them all. But, yeah, I was trying to get a perfect cougar pelt. And I kept hunting this one area, which is over there by Owengila. Because that's the one spot I know where there's a cougar that spawns readily. So I'm riding through there waiting for this perfect cougar to spawn. And I keep getting 1 and 2 stars. And so I keep hunting everything else. So I'm getting, 3-star wolves. I'm getting 3-star boars, deer, anything 3-star. I wound up with over 200 pelts.
All on the one horse.
All on the one horse. That's the nice thing about, the deer pelts and stuff. They don't add weight like the bear or the elk. And so I'm riding through there and I'm taking 2-star animals too, because, they're worth some money. And I finally spawn a 3-star cougar and I ride up there and I go into dead eye to take my headshot and my horse decides to buck me. And I mean,
as real as it gets, guys.
And I get on the ground and pull my rifle up, and I get into dead eye again, and that cougar pounces, and I didn't even get a chance to hit the break free button, and I was dead. And I thought, okay. I went to go get back on my horse, and the only pelts I had was the small game ones that went in my pouch because all of them were gone. Whoa, all those deer gone.
Well, you think about it in a way, that's a very realistic mechanic because if your horse had run off and spilled 200 pounds. If you could have held that, you wouldn't have held that. But that is a very real, when you think about it, that's something you got to think about, even in real life in 1890, whatever, if you're trying to sell hide for some reason. You know, you're going to take that pretty carefully when you approach a mountain lion, then, because everything's riding on it and there ain't no cell phone.
But the thing is at this point, I had turned in enough pelts for complete the pouch. I just had to have that cougar pelt, but I was just doing them for money.
Mm-hmm. Lost all your money.
Lost all my money.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how you consider this game. You can just be an 1890s simulator.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I honestly like to do, especially when we get to that third chapter, but we'll talk about it.
The one thing I would like
hang
to
out
see
in Valentine and go to the saloon.
If they do Red Dead 3 and do another prequel, which is about all they can do. Otherwise, it won't be a Western anymore. But yeah, if they do another prequel, I wanted to see them make it to where you can store stuff in wagons.
Yeah.
Because I thought I could do that. I went out to hunt buffalo one day, and this is like when I first started playing it. So I stole a wagon. I rode it out there, and it was an empty wagon. And I thought, I'll just start loading this up with buffalo robes. And you can't get them in there.
No.
You cannot. And if you do get them in there, because I got one in there, you take off riding, and it bounces out.
You got to tie your load down there a little bit.
So
there.
anybody watching this from Rockstar, design it where you can store stuff in the wagon. Like you can on a horse.
We need, I know it makes it more complicated, but to be more realistic, I would like to see a pack horse mechanic.
Yeah, that would be good too.
So you
that would be cool.
Horses.
You can kind of do that.
You know, I think you can do that. Yeah, you can do that. You can have two horses follow you.
Yeah, but you're not tethered and tied. It's
no. Yeah, they just kind of follow you.
But
I did that.
I've done that to get my 3-star elk and bear and buffalo. As I took a couple extra horses and just threw it on them, and then rode it back to camp.
Yeah, I did that too, but I got that white buffalo you get up in the mountains.
Yeah,
and I didn't know there's a trapper nearby. I didn't find him.
So I went all
the way to Annesburg's trapper. With
yeah, okay.
That's a long ways.
Yeah, he's right down there next to Owengila.
Yeah, I didn't find out till afterwards, but that whole Heartlands or whatever,
yeah,
a little state, I racked up a $1,500 bounty, so I was really being careful.
Yeah, after you get a $50 bounty, they start coming after you. You get $1,500, and they don't stop.
Yeah, it's constant.
I got there and I had time to sell everything, and then because the trapper is located, if you just take up into the hills, you get into the next state, and they just stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you get out of their territory.
On you, those hounds, they're hounding you. They won't stop.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're early on in the game. Of course, it's West Elizabeth, New Hanover, all that. You can't get there, and I never realized people were like, "Yeah, it's because there's a sniper." Like you cross the river, your bounty is already so high at the beginning of the game, they shoot you. Like you can get like 10 seconds. People have figured out, because the scary thing was the sniper is the camera behind you. So that's where the bullet always comes from. That's why you cannot find it, because it's always behind rig. It's coded to always be behind the camera. So people started stealing a wagon and driving it. And every time you turn, you just have to make sure that the canvas is turned to the camera so that you never see yourself. That sniper will shoot and shoot and shoot and never hit you. And you can drive all the way through that country. But the second you step off the wagon,
you're dead.
You're dead.
You're dead.
Because, well, I don't think we have to go into a bunch of the history, for most of the people here already know it.
There's also one way you can get into New Hanover as Arthur during the one mission when you go rescue Sean.
Mm-hmm.
That will allow you to go deeper into New Hanover without the sniper.
Really?
Yeah, you can get into Blackwater and quite a bit down into New Austin before you have any real issues. You have the people start, spawning to follow you,
so
but
like
you don't get the sniper.
If you're riding along the ridge with Trelawney in that mission,
yep.
And you break off,
if you look at it, you're
break away and go.
If you look, you're literally in New Austin. Yeah, if you just break away and not meet up with them.
Yeah.
Because it allows you to get there without getting shot at.
Yeah.
But that also allows you into New Austin and everything. But once you get really far down there, you start getting the sniper back. But you can get quite a bit through there. You can actually end up in Blackwater and go around. I mean, they're trying to kill you the whole time, but you can go around without the sniper.
Huh. That's how you should do it.
Every time I rode through there, I don't start getting the sniper until I start getting down there, like when you start getting close to that bridge to get into Thieves Landing.
Yeah.
I've never got the sniper until about there.
I get sniped as soon as I cross the river into West Elizabeth. Like,
yeah, me too.
Literally,
that's why I always get it.
The river. Okay, so a few comments here. See, Great Pilgrim's in here. He said, if you saw my recent, I now have a real 1863 single action star. Yes, I saw that video. That was a very good video.
Nice.
Soylent Green said, Pilgrim, a Colt 1938 auto was so neat for its time. Soylent Green said, I used to have an FN 1932. Was neat, but sold it. Soylent Green, check out your video. Great Pilgrim said, I do have a few of the very weird 1900 and 1910 semis. Some of those are in this game. They really are. Especially in the, I don't know if that happens in the later. Actually, they're more in the Red Dead 1, which happens a little later. My favorite is the 1907 Austro-Hungarian Rothsteyr. Then he said, Duke rocks. I like that guy. Duke, write a book. Soylent Green said, if you buy a moonshine license, you can buy wagons later and add stuff online, though. Not sure in single player. Oh, that's interesting.
All the fun stuff was in the online.
And then they just abandoned it, huh?
Yep. And they abandoned it.
I didn't want to pay for it. Let's see. Cerber Hansa said, I think it would be interesting if they made the third game take place during the Mexican Revolution like the Wild Bunch. I feel like we've covered that era, though, pretty good.
Yeah.
I'd like to see 1870s and 80s.
That would be cool.
I think when they were making Red Dead 2, it was supposed to take place between early 1870s when Dutch and Hosea find Arthur, and it's supposed to go all the way till 1899. But it's supposed to be like time skips and stuff, but then they just focused on the 1899 period.
Well, we are skipping over that this actually is a 3-game series. Mm-hmm. Red Dead Revolver takes place in what? It's supposed to be the late 1860s?
Yeah, it's supposed to take place right at the end of the Civil War, right?
It's not canon? How dare you? We know Uncle's Red Harlow.
Like you can find NPCs that talk about the legend of Red Harlow, but that's it.
I saw somebody put out a theory that Red Dead Revolver is actually a story told by Uncle drunk at a campfire about himself.
All I can say is
it makes sense.
if Uncle is Red Harlow, he's the ugliest ass half breed I've ever seen.
He's missing a few scars.
They used to call me the one-shot kid.
They did. So, SM said, I wonder if GTA 6 will have a lot of RDR Easter eggs. It might. They had it in.
I know the original GTA did. It actually had RDR 1 Easter eggs in it. There's a book that's called Red Dead Redemption, and it's written by Jack.
Yeah. Oh, Great Pilgrim said he had an accident. He said, it rendered my face not for radio, let alone TV. Will not be doing videos for a while. I'm sorry to hear that.
I saw his video. He got a black eye. Sorry to hear that, Ray.
Okay, so a few more comments. Let's get back into it. Great Pilgrim said, but I do have a few videos already. Cool Hand said, howdy, y'all. I just found the show was on. I've got some catching up to do. Great Pilgrim said, by the way, the Star has converted my son to the religion of the black. I loaded it, and he shot it at sundown, smoke, sparks, and a lot of bang, and he said he liked that. That's one way to do it. Some people think Uncle is red. Who's going to vacation this winter in Tahiti? He was a crack shot until he got the lumbago. Yeah. Ruined him for life. I want to grow up to be Uncle. Always got a roof over his head and food to eat, but he don't do nothing.
That's a snapper lifestyle right there.
All right, so we covered the firearms. Well, Sheldon, what's your favorite part of this game and your least favorite? I think I know what your least favorite part is, but what's your favorite part?
I would say chapter 2.
Oh, Valentine?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I like it just because it shows the gang trying to heal and get back on their feet. But obviously, that's like the only time you really see that camping more. Like, I don't know, where they're all kind of like united as the chapters go on. They just start breaking up, and then my least favorite would be the last chapter, especially the stuff with the natives. That's just, to me, they just could have just omitted that. But you need the Redskins to have a Western.
You were telling me about that, and I never noticed because the game is not like full of woke stuff necessarily, but you can tell there was some pressure to. What would your word be? Self-loathe a little bit at the end.
Because I understand, like 1899, like at least for the Lakota speaking tribe, that is a little late for pressures from the government. But in like around that time, you had the other tribes getting that kind of pressure, like the Utes in Colorado and other areas. They were getting pressured to move and sell land and whatnot. But and then just having everything destitute, and it's sure it wasn't.
It's what Plowboy would call the message. We got to always put that in there, no matter what, and it's got to be the dark as it can possibly be, which I get. And like I said, I don't have a whole lot to say on the subject because I don't have a whole lot to say. But it is interesting. There is one line that I really get a kick out of when Rainsfall and his son are talking to Arthur, and they're like, "You don't know how bad we've been treated, and everybody hates us." He's like, "Son, I'm wanted by the law in 3 different states. Government hates me more than they do you."
Right.
So it is interesting. So I didn't know. You know what? I will say one thing though. I'm glad it's in there just so that we can get Graham Greene in at least another role.
If I remember, Graham Greene's Ojibwe, and he has played a Lakota or Dakota more than anyone. His ancestors are probably a little mad.
But yeah, you do get Graham Greene as Rainsfall, so that is.
And that was like when I was playing it through it. Like I was playing it, first time, and you go into that little so-called treaty meeting.
Yeah.
And they're speaking. As soon as they start speaking Lakota, I perked up. I was like, "Hey!"
Oh, did they get it right?
They talk it so fast, I can't keep up. That's the issue with me. Like once you start talking real fast, I just can't. Like my aunt, she speaks it fluently. She grew up speaking it. So when she starts talking, it's like you hit fast forward on the movie. You can't keep up. You might catch a word here and there, but that's it.
Especially when they're mad, they talk real fast.
Oh yeah,
it's all women, man.
When he was speaking in Lakota, when I noticed on his last playthrough, I think he's reciting one of his lines from Dances with Wolves.
If he did, then that was probably just the writers getting it, because I don't think he speaks it fluently.
Well, I was sitting there thinking maybe he just went back and watched Dances with Wolves and read off his line again. But yeah, I was sitting there because I just watched Dances with Wolves too, and I'm like, that sounds a lot like that one line he used.
But I don't know. It's just like I didn't really get into the poor Indian with the white savior type shit. I didn't get into that much.
It was definitely, we were playing white savior. And what's weird is at this point, especially like down in Oklahoma, they're getting rich. That's a but neither here nor there. But Josh Harris says this is for Saboteur. What tribe was the Wapiti based on?
Lakota.
What did you think of the camp for a 1900 camp? Because you sent me some pictures while we were playing. Didn't like it.
Did not like it because at that point they would have had canvas teepees. They would have had wall tents and log cabins. They would have had teepees for summer living, the log cabins for winter. They would have, they would have had more wagons, more stuff. And the fact that they made Wapiti, the size of a thumbnail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would have been,
Not to mention the teepee poles would have been inside the teepee.
Yeah. they just can't. And then all the, I don't know.
It's kind of interesting.
I didn't really like it
when you think about how that was just tacked on the end for kind of a message. Rockstar is doing literally the exact same thing that Dutch is doing. We're going to use them to make a little noise. That's exactly what it was.
Like, I can understand. Like, I'm being honest. I don't care for the names Rainfalls and Eagle Flies. That's like generic white Indian naming there. You know,
Yeah.
when you have names like Kills Stray, Kills Crow, Indian, Pumpkin Seed, 10 Fingers. You know, when you have names like that, Gunhammer. You know, they're names you don't sit there and think that people would have.
Yeah.
Shot with arrow, but it's just like, but no, you have to pull out. Gas station Indian name, Rainsfall, Eagle Fly. But it's like I can understand at that time period, like especially like Eagle Flies, he'd be pissed, but his dad's the one who went and fought, and he's kind of like nothing good comes from it. But like it's kind of like in RDR2 where the natives you mainly just shoot at them. This one you're trying to be buddies with them, but it's like at that point, Eagle Flies, obviously he speaks English, so that means he had to go to school. At that point, there was send your kids to school and go to church, or else you're not going to get your rations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they could have done better. Not we got to get these horses back from Annesburg. We got to stop these. I think there was supposed to be a mission there is a mission about getting kids saving kids from being sent off to boarding school, but.
Isn't there? Where's it? I forgot the name of the place, but it's a ruin right before you get into New Austin, down in the south, before you cross that river, and it actually has a school in it, and you can actually find paperwork. And it's
down school.
Yeah, and it basically has like what they're trying to teach natives, English, and it's not going well, and
Johnny Cash had a song about that.
And you run into one of the guys who's a drunk who keeps asking for alcohol, and I think he drinks himself either to sleep or to death. I think he dies. But he's always talking about like he worked for the government and how they killed a bunch of people there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like they could have done better. Yeah, sure, they did good with, them dressing, and the time period close, because by that point buckskins and stuff would have been rare, especially
Did you check to see if they put the welts in their moccasins?
That's like moccasins. You still would have seen him wear that, especially old people. But like Eagle Flies, he would have had to have his hair cut short. Because in like 1895, there was a law that said that any man over the age of 30 or 40 are the only ones permitted to have long hair. After anyone else down has short hair.
Yeah.
So.
What we're saying, I think, is we're not really faulting the game because at the time period, and it may be changing now, you had to put something like that in everywhere. Like everything.
Well, they had to put it in there because they had to show how Dutch got in with the natives, because he's in with the natives in the first Red Dead.
Yeah. And it's kind of
establish that connection of how does he get in with them. And it also, you kind of look into it on deeper levels, like it's showing how manipulative Dutch really is, because he sees this kid that's just, lit up and easily manipulated. He's telling him what he wants to hear, and he's basically manipulating him for his own end. So it's
I thought that was
Dutch is
well done, because that's Dutch's whole story. The forgotten native, the black man, whoever, whatever, this or that. We're gonna bring this all together into. And when you actually, and you see it in the second game or in the first game, and you're like, it made sense weirdly to a lot of people, and then you see it in the first game and how he gets there, and you're like, oh, a lot of natives died so that Dutch could, which, I mean, if with a grain of salt in the Red Dead Redemption world, a lot of people die anyway, but
So you asked me my opinion on the natives. So what's your guys' opinion on the Lemoyne Raiders?
Yeah, you're going to get me there. I knew you were going to. All right, so this is the part that I don't like. We have a bunch of ex-Confederate soldiers just hanging out in the swamps, still all in pretty good uniforms in 1899.
Hey, those Confederate uniforms were made top quality back then. They last forever.
Yeah. And they don't ever really go into why they're there. I mean, it's to make money. A lot of them are moonshining. And the funny thing is, whereas Arthur may be the white savior to the natives, he is the exact opposite to anything that's Confederate in this game.
Yeah.
Well, I should say Dutch. Arthur doesn't act like he really cares. If people shoot at him, he shoots back, which is legitimate in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't care what color you're wearing. If you ride up on me and start shooting at me, I'm probably going to shoot back.
I remember him saying something about the Lemoyne Raiders, about how they're just horrible racists.
Well, it kind of comes across that way, but it's more of a Dutch thing. The whole reason that they're even in it.
I know Dutch hates him because his daddy died in the war.
His dad is a Yankee, died in Pennsylvania, Gettysburg, I believe. And he's the whole reason they're really staying down there, even though we get to a point where Hosea tells him, there's no gold. Why are we still down here messing with these two families trying to get in the middle of this? Which, come to find out later, if you play the game and hunt around, there was gold, but you won't find it in that mission. But it does come back a lot to Dutch. That the whole reason we're in this is he's trying to take revenge for his father on the Confederacy. But if you look at it, Arthur doesn't really care unless they're shooting at him.
Mm-hmm.
He would rather just go, hunt animals or hang around camp. or wait for somebody else to come up with an idea and he'll get in on it. But
by the way, the battlefield, boy, I wish there was something like that ever existed, because there would have been redneck snapper out there stealing every one of those cannons.
Those cannons are still on the battlefield.
Yeah, those would have been gone a long time ago.
Another thing that you can see, like remnants of Red Dead 2, remnants of the remnants of the part of development where it was supposed to take place in the 1870s. Because at least in the 1870s, you still would have seen some guerrillas and stuff hanging on.
That would have made more sense for the South if that was the 1870s. It would have made a lot more sense.
One thing I brought up with Garrett was, like maybe some of their uniforms aren't uniforms. It's just something they slap together.
You think they're still recreating them? I guess it could be.
Or just be some standard gray coat that you could buy.
Yeah, but they're uniformed to some extent, but they are portrayed as, your average hick, Confederate. When in reality, it's that whole country was run by Union at that point. Like everything in the South at that point was Union. All the Confederates mostly move out and go west, because especially down there in where they're portraying it to be like Louisiana. I don't know why they would pick that for the Lemoyne Raiders, but I don't care for it, but I see where they're coming from. And you also got to remember this is a game where, for some reason in 1899, 1900, there's 15 people living in a camp, running around being the biggest outlaws, killing literally thousands of people. And so at the same time, but they kill all these people, but then all of a sudden, we have this racial issue that it's like, oh, that's bad.
Yeah. Not the bajillion people you've killed while robbing.
But I kind of understand where they're coming from. And if being a Confederate sympathizer, I guess myself, I can lay that aside just to enjoy the game and be like, you know what? You're playing as a guy who's indifferent, but kind of caught up in this whole thing that his boss put him in.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right, though. Like, I think all that was in there for the message, the modern message. I hope they don't do it as bad because, the message has gotten much worse in the last, 5 years.
It's not popular to put it in there in the last year or so.
Right. So I really hope when the third comes out, there's less message and just more entertainment.
Yeah.
Duke, you got any thought on the Lemoyne Raiders?
I don't know. I kind of think they were the idea they're trying to play is like the Missouri Bushwhackers, like under Bloody Bill. Like by the end of the war, they've gotten to be just pure evil.
Yeah.
Because, if you look at Bloody Bill, he was just pure evil there at the end of the war. The James brothers were too. It's just that they kind of played the Robin Hood thing. And by the time you get in the 1870s, even the people aren't sympathizing with them anymore. That was kind of the feel I got from it is, you got a gang that's of ex-soldiers that are still hanging on and still trying to fight for something that's gone. and they've just turned from, you know, whatever their mission was, they've just kind of turned into evil because the wars changed them.
Mm-hmm. Arthur and Dutch don't have that excuse.
Nope.
Soylent Green, Gray Pilgrim said, or David W. said, hello guys. Hi, David W. Gray Pilgrim said, I'm not much of a gamer, but I've seen many playthrough videos on YouTube. Good. At least you're not yelling at people for playing it. Some people do that. Soylent Green said, did you run into the old drunk that makes you get his slave roster book? Side mission, he drinks himself to death. Also, there's a cool Easter egg. If you go into the CW battlefield at night, the church, you can hear the battle going on. I think I remember that. I definitely.
If it's raining. If it's raining, you can.
Yeah.
I've definitely done the slavers roster book mission. I do that every time because I wanted to pick up that cap lock single shot pistol that's in that.
You didn't notice that's like one of the very few people that if you kill, you get positive honor.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. And I still thought that was like messed up. Like you're a bad dude, but morality is that's messed up.
I will say this though. We're talking about this like this is what the game is. The game is so huge, and these are minute.
These are little complaints.
Indians or the Lemoyne Raiders. These are small chapters of a very huge story, and so you can overlook it and go on. I mean, you can be the racist if you want to.
In this game, yeah.
In the game.
When I was making it, I spent a little bit making the explosive ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
The second I ran into the boys in white, you know, they didn't last too long with those. You know,
those are the funniest, by the way. Those are pretty funny, especially when they burn themselves up, catch themselves on fire.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
They're about the dumbest people in the game.
Snapper, you are literally named after them.
Oh God.
Aren't you?
No, not really.
I thought the wild snapper. Oh, you're not talking about the Colt on the mountain, the turtles.
No, not them. I'm talking like
boys in white. I thought that's what
the KKK's in the game. Remember?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Them in their little ghost costumes.
In their little ghost costumes.
When you say
you're talking about the.
When you say the guys in white, I think of the
Talonians.
Yeah.
Yes. May the teeth in the shell protect you, brothers.
And then protect them from falling off that mountain. But yeah.
You know what the funniest part is? If you walk up, if you're John and you walk up after they jump, John will jump and yell Chelonia as well. You can't stop him either. You just walk towards it. I was like, oh my God, they jumped, and I'm walking over to look down, and all you see is it pan off from the side, and you see John jump off going, Chelonia! Yeah. And you die.
I'm just randomly, I wasn't even doing a playthrough or anything. I texted Snapper. I was like, let's see if he really did get his name from this. And so we haven't talked about it in like a year, and I just texted him like shell of safety. And he gives me this whole spiel. He knows the whole line. He knows the whole
It's so funny. I wanted that guy's costume, by the way, so bad. When he put the shell on, like the big turtle shell right before they jump off, I was like, I want that turtle shell.
Shell of safety. So how did you actually, I mean, I know you've said that before, but did you actually take your name part of it from that? I like turtles.
No. Well, I use that because basically I picked the whole Snapper name. It was before the game. I got my son this little turtle when he was real little. We were at this what do they call it, like a little swap meet kind of place, and they had these little tiny baby musk turtles. I mean, these things are like the size of a dime, and that turtle ended up becoming like my favorite pet ever. She passed away like a couple years ago. But after that, I kind of got into turtles and started learning about, like, I have two, like, really rare tortoises, like, huge tortoises, like, really big tortoises. And when I'm talking, like, holy cow, they could crush you to death kind of size tortoises. But I kind of started liking turtles. And I got quite a few turtles and tortoises. And I just kind of always picked that. I just kind of picked it in because I like snapping turtles. And I can't own one where I live. I want a snapping turtle so freaking bad. I want an alligator snapper and a regular snapping turtle because the regular snapping turtle is so smart. The regular common one, that if you raise one, like they're like puppy dogs. Like I know a guy who had one that it literally won't sleep unless it's on his foot. Like it'll literally walk over, put its head on his foot, and that's the only way the turtle will sleep. And the turtle just goes crazy every time he leaves. It's the sweetest, nicest turtle ever, and it's this huge snapping turtle. And this thing would take your arm off, but it's the sweetest, nicest, thing ever. And so I always like snapping turtles, and I can't own one. So I said, screw it. I just picked his name once because I didn't want my real name to be attached to it. So I was like, yeah, I'll just put the Wild Snapper, and it just kind of stuck and stayed.
Makes me think that the Chelonians are your favorite faction in this game, Snapper.
Indeed, they are.
But anyway, now that we're off at the turtles, back.
But that was my favorite part, though, when he's up there. He's like, with Arthur, he's like, "Turtles, you like turtles? I like turtles too."
This is kind of funny. It's like getting me to talking about trapdoors, or Sheldon to talking about Winchesters, or Snapper to talking about turtles.
Turtles.
Anyway, back to the firearms. So this time I made my run through because before I always ran through with the semi-automatic shotgun and the C96, and it was kind of like an easy mode, especially once you get really good ammo or explosive ammo. This time I leveled myself to guns that I had literally, and somebody asked earlier, do you play this game with your favorite gun by your side? Yes, this time I literally went with the two guns that were by my side when I started playing. Trapdoor, single action army. I'm telling you, when you get to Guarma, that game becomes very difficult because you're not using the trapdoor because it's not there. All you have is the single action army. And have you ever tried to stop an invading naval fleet with a single action army? It's not easy.
That one time.
It's like they give you the sniper rifles and everything. I got so good at laying up with the sticky aim and then tap back, lay up, tap back to get that headshot. Because sadly, the power of the handguns in this game goes Schofield is the most powerful. The little double actions are the second most powerful, and the big old 45 Colt single action army, least powerful handgun in the game. So it's literally backwards.
The volcanic is the most powerful pistol in the game.
They make the volcanic
the weakest gun in history. That there's literally an account of a person trying to commit suicide with one, shot himself in the head multiple times, and was still found like awake and alive. That's how powerful a volcanic is, and that is the most powerful pistol in the game.
And this has nothing to do with Red Dead. Well, I was actually surprised that in the 1970s, Smith & Wesson was going to... They made a prototype of a volcanic, but because of safety issues, they couldn't do anything.
Didn't release it.
It would have been so cool if they would have made it, if they would bring out a volcanic replica.
If they released one in 38 Special, but it couldn't work like it is the trouble. Because you'd have to have ejection.
Yeah.
I think Danix makes a little copy.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be hard to make an actual bullet that would work for a volcanic. Because all you need is a hollow base bullet.
You could do it in like 32, 380, something like that.
Well, yeah, all they really have to do to sell it, because people don't generally care about the ammunition. They can sell
that's true.
A volcanic. All they got to do is take their Henry and cut it down and chamber it in 38 Special and put a finger loop on it and put a pistol grip on it, I think. It would not be historically accurate, but people would be like, oh, volcanic.
Yeah.
And they buy it. I think they buy it like crazy. What Sheldon probably knows, what is the internal differences? The action outside of the ejection, obviously, but is the general action the same as the 60?
It's the same action, but here's the like Winchester.
Yeah.
And then like
volcanic. There's actually quite a few of them you see at the Antique Arms Show here, and also the volcanic rifle, the one that it looks just like a Winchester or a Henry. It's just like a baby Henry.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Coolest little. They're so cool looking, just because they look like a tiny little Henry.
I think they might be able to pull it off if they literally not went historical accurate at all and just went with something that looked like it in 38 Special.
I think so. That'd be cool. Or heck, even 22 for the heck of it. I mean, that would be cool too.
So, Great Pilgrim said the C96 rocks. I had taken 7.62 to pull the bullets, download. Schofield Lust. Volcanic was the first caseless invented. Atlassian Man said, I'd love a volcanic clone in 22 long rifle. Gray Pilgrim said, a pellet of smokeless in a mini ball. That might work. Imagine a volcanic 9mm. You could get just about the same action size. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
45 ACP. You can make it 45 ACP.
That would be super cool.
I saw that. I saw it was a long time ago, but someone made themselves a volcanic, created all the machining and all that fun stuff, and they have a chamber in 40 Smith & Wesson.
That'd be all right. You'd want.
I don't think it would be that hard to do because all you would need to do is just copy a Smith and or a Winchester.
I think
and just make it smaller.
Inherently require a lower pressure cartridge like that.
But what he did was it was a short. I think if I remember right, it's been years since I read this. It was a shortened 40 Smith & Wesson case that he loaded with black powder because of the actual 40 Smith & Wesson would probably blow that bolt back.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It'd have to be pretty low pressure.
Yeah, I could probably find it if you give me a bit. But
like I said, if you used to do that 45 ACP, you get the rimmed ones that they have for the
auto rims.
Yeah, the auto rims that they make for the infield revolvers. Infield.
So
the
back to Red Dead cloth buttons.
Cloth. That's another complaint. Man, it sounds like we're complaining a lot, but I would love it. I want cloth covered buttons in there, and they don't give them to you. Obviously, and we also have to remember this game was designed and made now it's been in production for over 20 years at this point. So they kind of get to go with what they started with, and they may not have had when they started everything that we would like to see. I would love cloth covered buttons. They don't give you the option. I would like more variety in pattern styles because it's the 1890s. I would think you would want to see a lot of plaids and a lot more what do you call it, the Scottish tartan. You know what I'm talking about, Duke? I would like to see a lot more of that.
Basically plaid.
Yeah, and more designs because those suits in the 1890s they were starting to come more into more of a. I've noticed when I did my research, they were coming more into a darker, 1890s, 1900s, but 1880s and up to mid 1890s, colorful was the thing. For a long time, colorful suits like all over the place, and tartan, guns in the water. And not just black or gray or white suit coats, which they have a lot of options in there. I just like to see more. Sheldon, he just wanted a hat that didn't have a hole in it. Right? You can't get that in the game. You can buy a brand new hat and it'll have a hole in it in 2 seconds and never go away.
You can get a nickel finish on a new gun and scruffed up already.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that is kind of funny.
I actually do like from the game.
What's that? Oh yeah, you can do
stuff that we do like from the game because we've been hounding on it for about an hour.
One thing that I really do like when you first get to Saint Denis, when you first go there, you have that sense of just dread of the modern cities, modern world. I don't know why, but that connects to me so much. That feeling of, man, I don't want to be here.
Yep. One thing I'll say, and I had to, at first I was like, I don't like this. And then the more I thought about it, the more I rationalized it was possible, was the trapdoor was, and I've said this on another chat before, but was a model of 1888 ramrod bayonet trapdoor, which government would have been holding those pretty tight in 1899, not letting go of them. But you could have got them. And then I looked and I was like, oh man, because I looked at the brochure and they're like, this is a 50 caliber trapdoor. And I'm like, oh no, the 1888 is not a 50 caliber trapdoor. And then you look at it and you're like, man, that's really short. Because the way he rides and holds it, I tried to sit there in my chair and hold. I couldn't hold it up because it's so 32.5-inch barrel, so front heavy. You can't hold it the way he holds it when he rides. So I was like, oh, it's cut down and the barrel band's moved back. So I thought about it and I thought about it and I thought,
the banner man.
Only thing that could work here, could this possibly be real? And I was like, well, there's no way a 68 trapdoor 5070 is going to fit in an 88 stock because the receiver is too short. It would leave this giant gap. Then I thought, what about an 1870? So I went over there and I tried it. You can slap an 1870 5070 trapdoor barrel into an 1888. I mean, it's a squeeze, but you can do it. You can fit it into that 1888 stock. And as soon as that happened, I was like, Bannerman, these are Bannerman guns, chopped down like Bannerman did, made out of parts from those spare 5070s that at the very end of the 1870 run that didn't get used. Now it's believable. And now I want to make one, but I don't want to chop an 1870.
Come on, Garrett. Why not?
Because
You got plenty of them.
You'll be fine.
Just buy one of those fake carbines that's already chopped and put it in there.
Those don't pop up very often. The 1870s, only 12,000 of them made. But I was like, that was interesting because at a bird's eye view, your normal historian would be like, oh, that wouldn't fit at all. But if you study it deep enough, you're like, they didn't mean to make it possible, but it is possible. So that was
I love the reload process in the game. Like just seeing how fast Arthur can reload a single action army. And he does all the steps. Like he really ejects it, sticks a new cartridge in, rotates the cylinder. And even with the Navy, you could actually see him. He doesn't obviously cap it, but you can see him stick in it would be a paper cartridge and ram it with the ramrod.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty cool.
One other thing on that trapdoor is you start out with a great Buffington sight, the computer of all sights, the greatest sight ever devised for a single shot rifle as the military goes. And then you upgrade it to the old 1873 roller coaster and get more accurate. They went backwards. But I was like, I was glad they had both sight styles in there, just play them opposite. And so, yeah, I did enjoy studying that a little more this time around, looking at it a little deeper. And I should do it with all the guns because there's intricacies on all of them. If I was to look into those double barrel shotguns and actually try to put them compared, you'd probably be interested to find what you find. You know, what the latch type is. I haven't even looked at it that close.
Oh, one other silly thing about the guns is the rifling. You get to pay to put rifling in your gun. It's like, what? This is supposed to have it already.
It's just an improvement that you got to pay for.
Yeah, you can upgrade. For people who don't know, you can upgrade. You can change the length of your barrel. Like on a single action, you buy it at like 5.5 inches. You can make it a 7.
You get more power.
7.5 inch gun. They have an upgraded sight for it, and then upgraded rifling. And you can also engrave it and change the colors and all kinds of stuff.
There is one cool historical fact they got in there with the guns that I didn't notice until I was doing a little research. But the Litchfield rifle, Litchfield was one of the guys that was working with Winchester. Can't remember what his role was. There was a guy named Litchfield that was working for the Winchester Arms Company. So I found that interesting that they named one of the guns after somebody that was actually with Winchester.
Yeah, and I love that they didn't just go with only 92s. Do they even have a 92 clone in there?
No,
they don't have the Buffalo rifle. I wish they'd had the Buffalo rifle.
That's what
you get a rolling block instead.
Yeah, that's what somebody had said up there. Joshua Harris said I was bummed that no Sharps rifle, but I love the Krag Jorgensen. I use that a lot.
Well, like in the original one, the Buffalo rifle was the longest range, but it had open sights.
Mm-hmm.
You still had the rolling block in the original. That was the scoped gun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that Buffalo rifle, and I think that was an add-on after it was released because you've got to do a whole bunch of stuff to get it. But yeah, I wish they had the Buffalo rifle in the second one. That would have been awesome.
I was kind of disappointed that they did not have the Sharps, but then I was kind of disappointed when they add really good guns into the multiplayer, but they don't transfer it to the single player.
Yeah.
While with GTA Online, they did that where you can have the DLC in the single player. It's like you can do it for one, you can do it for the other, but
yeah, I want a 51 Navy.
All right.
I know, I wanted one too.
From what I understand, is they just basically picked up everyone and moved them to GTA 6. So
Jared said they needed an 1886. Yeah, they did. The only thing is, I think they selected their firearms so as not to step too much on the toes of another firearms class. So if you add the 1886 and you have the power of the trapdoor and the rolling block, but in a lever action, nobody would ever touch the trapdoor or the rolling block or the single shots again. You know?
Right.
Maybe they could have added recoil to it or something. I don't know. All right. Horses and saddles. Got anything to say, dude? This saddle upgrades are pretty cool. You can go get another Herbert.
It's like some of the saddles I got are pretty good. The McClellan version isn't quite right. But they've got some in there that are pretty historically accurate. The saddlebags are on backwards. That's my one big thing with the saddlebags is they're on backwards, and they're 1902 or 1904 McClellan saddlebags that have the 3 straps.
Yeah,
so they're later bags, but they always put them on there backwards because that cut where it goes in and gets thinner, that's supposed to butt up against the seat of the saddle, the cantle, and they've got it backwards.
So, how many horses
I'm not
have you
much
guys
of a
been
saddle
through?
person, but some of them saddles kind of did look like a modern.
Yeah, they did. But, and then you also got to give them leeway, though, because some of those Roper styles were coming in by 1900. You know, it was not the 1870s, but I did notice some of them were pretty modern with the swells on the front.
Yeah.
But just the fact that they could give you a Mother Hubbard saddle and call it that, and a McClellan, and this and that, you know, that was going above and beyond. Favorite horse in the game? You guys got any?
I really like the Arabian, the Black Arabian.
I like the Black Arabian too. I went with the white one for my first couple of playthroughs, and then I bought the black one.
Yeah, I just found one that's even faster than it. I think it's the Foxtrotter. I just found it as John when John has no money because he's buying his ranch. So I haven't tried it out yet. But no, I went through most of the playthrough with the free thoroughbred that you get. That you can get at the beginning if you've got the DLC for it. And
you talking about the Warhorse? No, not the Warhorse.
No, the other one you can get a thoroughbred that's free. And it's kind of an Appaloosa color.
Okay.
That's the one I always get because it's one of the faster horses. I played through with that, and then I got the Arabian, and then there was one that I got that was a really pretty white Appaloosa with black spots. I found it riding around and stole it. And it wasn't that fast of a horse. I didn't keep it very long, but I managed to get through an entire playthrough, and I didn't have the horse die until it dies at the end of Arthur's story.
The horse you get from the veteran. Why can't I think of its name right now?
Oh, yeah. Buell?
Buell, yeah. That's a pretty good horse.
There's a Confederate that's all right.
Yeah. I got that horse just before I finished Arthur's story, so I didn't use it.
That's one.
Yeah, I never finished that one off, so I can have Buell as John's.
I was about to say, I've done like literally 90, probably 8% of the missions in the game. I've never 100% of the game. I don't have that kind of time to get the compendium and all that. But that's one mission I have never finished. And I saw somebody finish it as John the other day, and it was like the most awesome. And I'm like, man, why did I never finish that mission? It's pretty hard to find the second part, I think.
We talking about the what do you mean, the
one-legged trapper?
Yeah,
the veteran?
Finished it.
Yeah. No, not the veteran in town. There's a trapper.
Well, he's the veteran. Hey,
the one you get Buell from. The one who you find because he gets thrown from his Buell.
In town that's like lying.
Not him.
Yeah, no.
The one that's up at O'Crea's Run. He's called the veteran.
Yeah, you go fishing with him and you go hunting with him, and he ends up dying by the boar.
I never found the second part of the mission. It may have glitched or something. I don't know. I looked for it.
You got to wait like a couple days between each one, but I managed to do them all as Arthur because I finished it just before Arthur. Because that was I finished that one, and then I finished Charlotte that lives up there by herself on the far north of Vannesburg.
Yep.
I finished both of those, and then I went and finished the rest of the game.
Our other side piece.
If
A lot of women like Arthur.
you know what's kind of neat about that game is you could do all of those missions as Arthur and John, and the way you do them, the way John ties into it, it's kind of neat doing both. Yeah, like one time I would do it all as Arthur. One time I would do them all as John, and then I would do half as Arthur and half as John, and it's pretty neat the way that they tie it all in. They thought of everything. Yep. They really did, because there's a lot of scenarios you can get into. You're like, I wonder if I do this, if this will actually mess this up, and they think of everything.
Yeah. So what's you guys' clothing dress usually? I changed mine up a few times because I went stock. I went stock Arthur the first time I ran through. Didn't change it.
Yeah.
I'm a dapper Arthur.
So I kind of leave him deep in the. I kind of left him in the default.
Yeah.
When I started out, I kind of got a little bit not real fancy, but I got some fancier clothes. Mm-hmm. And then when I got into the hunting spree, I'm like, well, I'm going to go dress up, kind of like you'd expect a professional hunter trapper to kind of look. Mm-hmm. And I put it all together. And when I got done, I'm sitting there riding around, and I let Arthur's beard grow out, and I was like, he looks like young uncle. And I got him just wearing a union suit with a pair of pants, and I got a buckskin vest and the buckskin moccasins, and then I went and got the muskrat cavalry hat from the trapper, and I was sitting there riding around. I was like, yeah, this is young uncle.
You always got to get the possum, or not the raccoon, or the raccoon hat from the guy in Valentine.
Pirate.
Fight him and you can get his hat.
I went around with the skunk hat on for a long time.
But yeah, the skunk hat, that's what it was, the skunk hat, yeah.
No, the skunk hat you get with the trapper.
Oh, is that okay?
Yeah.
The guy you meet in Valentine, who's the the mountain man kind of guy, get into a fight with him.
He's the one NPC you cannot beat. You can't kill. You can't beat him.
You know what's hilarious? Punch him a couple times and then run in to go take a bath, and he'll follow you into the bath and he'll beat you up in the bathtub.
Yeah.
He could end up killing you. If you die in the bathtub, you'll spawn as Arthur naked. No joke, and you could play as him as Arthur.
I cut a wide path around that. I didn't know it was impossible. I thought I just didn't, because I never use Deadeye unless the game makes you. I just didn't really care to add that mechanic, so I never tried to use it. And then the game would let me, and then I'd be all terrible with it because I never practiced. And I would go into that, dude. You're talking about the gunfighter at Valentine. You know the one? He's unbeatable. And I didn't realize that it's and then I got to looking at it. Everybody's like, yeah, it's almost impossible to outdraw him. So.
The only way I beat him is I got the Deadeye lined up on a really sensitive area.
Oh, yeah? Set him down for a second?
And I just started mashing that button to mark those targets, and so I kind of knocked off his jewels, but...
I never played it as a gunfighter type. It's not something I ever really looked for. I did in the first game, but not in this one. And it's interesting because you could go for a gunfighter clothing section too, which is interesting. But I usually I started with the bowler, and then I went to Boss of the Plains, and I used a frock coat and some plaid style pants and the standard plain riding boots. And that's what I was texting Sheldon. I'm like, where's the cloth covered buttons?
he dressed, his Arthur was going for a night on town.
Yeah, I was dressed up everywhere I went. But what was your hat, Sheldon?
The estate?
Your hat.
Yeah, the estate is the Boss of the Plains.
Oh type. Yeah, the big flat hat.
But it kept getting shot off, so screw it, he's gonna go hatless.
Yeah, because it never replaces the holes that get shot in your hat.
That's the neatest thing they added, by the way, how your hat can get shot, and you can have that happen in chapter 1, and through the entire game, that hole will stay there in your hat.
Yeah, the way I got around it is if you lose the hat and then you ride off a ways and then swap it, I've seen it pop up without the holes in it.
That'd been nice. Really? I spent a lot of money on a really fancy top hat, and I literally got out the door and somebody shot a hole in it. And it was there the rest of the time I had that fancy top hat.
What's funny though is I bought the ones kind of like this, the round top hat, whatever they call that one. And I walked out of the store and it had a hole in it. I wasn't even shot. It had a hole in it when I walked out of the store. I turned around and I was like, what in the heck?
Oh my. Let's see here. A few comments coming in here. Let's see. Gray Pilgrim said, I've been lonesome in the saddle since my old horse died. Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that too in a second. Soylent Green said, Turco Man. Joshua Harris said, in the early game, I got a black spotted Appaloosa and kept it all the way through.
I'll be right
Was
back.
what I was riding when he was killed. Tore me up. Bigger and braver than the Arabian, just a little slower. More stamina than the thoroughbred. Gray Pilgrim said, I love the guns from the 1860s to 1930s. Last horse I rode was over 45 years ago. By the way, Dwayne Dry Creek Wrangler School video, latest, highly recommended. Well, check that out. Joshua Harris said, I changed his hat immediately to a gray cowboy hat, blue shirt, canvas sack coat, shotgun chaps, both as Arthur and John. Did anybody hear about the Texas Civil War Museum closing? No, I did not. Long story short, the owner got put in an assisted living facility, and now his kids are selling it at auction. That's too bad.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, Soylent Green said they shot my top hat off because they thought I was Lincoln. Yeah, I went with gray just to avoid that. Servant Hanzo said, gotta go see you on the next one. Cool. What do you think, Duke, about Arthur's default clothing? He's got some kind of leather coat, which the shirt's not terrible.
The coat is kind of it's more of a duck canvas.
Mm-hmm.
It's a brown duck canvas. The hat is just awful.
Mm-hmm.
Arthur's main hat is just absolutely
Leather.
awful.
The leather hat.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, they didn't really do that at that time, did they?
No, not really.
It wasn't really a thing.
Not be practical at all.
The pants and the shirt weren't terrible, but Arthur really looks kind of like a mix of a modern and, like 1940s kind of mix. Actually, his coat looks more like John Wayne's in True Grit.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys ever seen the what do they call it? The first version of Arthur that they didn't use with the black leather jacket and the black beard and the cattleman crease and the blue jeans. It's a black jacket. They were gonna do that, and somebody was like, "Oh, hold it." Yeah, you can see pictures of it out there. It was terrible. Looked like 1980s.
Oh God.
But on that subject, who has the best clothes in the game?
Real quick though, if you ever want a horse that makes the game really interesting to play, use the war horse. It is the most honoriest horse in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It'll buck you off randomly. It'll do. It makes it interesting. Just put it that way. The horse is so ornery, it's crazy, but it's pretty funny. It's quite comedic if you get the war horse.
I played that the first time I played through. I played with a war horse, and that thing can take a pounding when it comes to being like in running gunfights.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like you said, he's ornery.
Yep.
He's very ornery.
Oh, he is slow.
The Dutch, the Dutch warm blood from Valentine, because they're different. They're different where you buy them. I bought the paper Dutch warm blood, and you can stick with him pretty much the whole game. I always let my wife name him, and she named him Fred. And then after he died, it was Freddie Jr. And what was funny was the first time I played through, I was just taking my time doing all the side missions. So like I was like at the one where the mission, not side mission, but the main mission where you go through the oil refinery at the end.
Right.
And I was just fooling around on this Dutch warm blood, and I had played probably 100 hours at that point, first run through. Never so much as had an issue outside of hitting a tree and falling off, right up to a cliff and just fall the whole horse down the cliff. And so I'm all the way up in whatever that territory is up there that has the fort and the oil refinery where there's nothing. What is the name of that state?
Well, it's up by East Amber, or it's in Amberino.
Yeah. And there is the only place you can get, and I had no horse medicine to revive him. He's dying at the bottom of the mountain. And I'm like, I'm playing for 100% honor here. So I'm like, I'm not going to steal a horse and hurt the honor. I'm going to go get the actual horse reviver from a stable, Nearest stable's in the next state in Valentine. I ran on foot for an hour to Valentine. Got to the stable. 100% honor. Never done anything wrong in this game that I could possibly not do. Open the door. The guy's like, "Can I sell you something?" Hit the trigger fast draw button and shoot him dead. I did not mean to. I was trying to. Can I sell you? Boom! I looked at my wife and I said, "The nearest one is all the way down in the roads." By that point, I just stole a horse because honor was already out the window. I just murdered the state.
All I have to do is walk around and wave to people, and your honor will come back.
Yeah, but I didn't know that at the time. I wasn't sure how it worked. I was like, "I want the good ending. I want the good ending."
So, what did you name your horses, anyways?
Horse.
Mine was Elmer's. Nobody got it for the longest time, so I ended up having to change it to Future Glue.
Fred and Freddie Jr.
I don't know. I always gave mine kind of epic names, so I was like, I named one Charger. God, what was it? I can't remember what the last one I named. It started with an M.
Mater.
Yeah. I don't know. It always takes me like 20 minutes to decide on a name, but I remember Charger, Cochise. I named one Athena. Yeah, I've had quite a bit of like, Greek god names.
That's actually what we name our cars and our motorcycles after, Greek gods. Actually, it's kind of funny. It's kind of a tradition.
I get my motorcycle Asian names like Honda and Shadow.
Yamaha.
Yamaha.
Well, the sad part is I was sitting there the other day and I was looking at this BMW S1000RR, and I just kind of got this funny laugh about it because I was like, I have a Honda CBR, and I have the Italian Ducati, and then if I got the BMW, I have the entire Axis Powers now. And let's just say I started naming my motorcycles, so we're not going to go into that. They're secondary names. But let's just say the Italian one rhymes with Mussolini, so you could imagine what the BMW's name might be.
Anyway, Soylent Green said Arthur the Urban Cowboy. Gray Pilgrim said Lincoln. Oh, yeah, it's a crooked railroad lawyer whose real claim to history was he played a part in the death of the famous 19th century actor. That guy, yeah.
Wow.
Soylent Green said Arthur the Urban Cowboy. Gray Pilgrim says, guys, I got to go keep the spirit up. Happy trails. We'll try. Soylent Green, see you, Pilgrim. Soylent Green laughing. Soylent Green said, Whiskey Duke and Winchester. Justin Colt said, I named my first horse Snickers. So that first Dutch Warmblood I had in that game, I revived him, and I played all the way through the epilogue, and I was like just literally fooling around in the game at the end of the first playthrough. You know, when you go to Armadillo and there's that Y in the road at the top of the hill, and if you miss it, like you got to go all the way to the end of the hill and then turn around. Mm-hmm. I thought I'll jump him down right here. And so I jumped him down and he died. And I went into town like in Armadillo. There's literally nothing. I was like, well, I'm on like hour 170. The game's been beat for like 70 hours. I was like, this is where we stop right here. The horse is gone.
It is a really bad thing in that game when your horse dies. Like, it is traumatic. Because you put so much time into getting your horse set up.
Besides the one that you get. Oh, no. I did have a horse die. And I forgot about it till now, but I was trying to go to Saint Denis, and I saw some Lemoyne Raiders hold up a stagecoach, and I turned around. As soon as I turned around, they said something. They're like, they had a couple hostages on the ground, and I'm like, oh, just shoot them. So they shot them. That's when I found out that the bullets go through the NPCs because they shot it.
Oh yeah,
and they went and hit my horse and killed my horse. I was like, yeah, no, screw this. So I went and I just quit without saving. So when I booted it back up, I had my horse back.
Speaking of NPCs, you know when you meet that girl up in the top right part of the map, and you teach her how to like shoot and stuff?
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it, but I started walking with Arthur right when she was about to shoot, and I walked right in front of her. She shot Arthur right in the head and killed him. Right in the middle of teaching her how to shoot at the bottles.
Well, you still taught her how to shoot.
I know, right?
I'll never forget in the first game. And so this is 2010. So Ethan was a teenager at the time when I was, just getting in the oil field. And I remember he came along and he would play after I would play for a while. He would play for a while after I beat it. And I was telling him how to do all this. And he'd played for a couple nights. And he had got, like, in the first game, the first playthrough you do that you don't know everything's at, like, it takes forever to get money in the first game, right? And so Ethan's read about this horse, and I can't remember which one it was, but it was the most expensive, best horse in the game, like $500. And Ethan doesn't know where any gold is. He doesn't know how to get it. It's like you're very early on in his playthrough. But he spends like 3 days just like robbing little things to get money. I can't remember how the system even worked for that, but early on in that game. But basically, he's doing nothing. Like 2 days, he would come over at night to my house, and he would play this. And he finally saved up all the money. And he's like, you want to play for a while? I was like, yeah. And he's like, let's make some more money. He bought this brand new horse, has everything tacked out on it. And we ride. It works different in Red Dead 1 because we ride. I was like, this is where you get all your money. You're going to go shoot this huge outlaw nest. I can't remember where it was. So we pull up and get down, and the very first shot fired kills that horse.
Oh, no.
He was so mad. He was screaming and hollering, and he was just a teenager. He was younger then. And he was like, you killed my $500 horse. I said, it's not all the way, so I walked over and skinned it.
That's the one thing they let you do in the first one that they don't let you do in the second one. You can't skin the horse.
But here you have a poor horse pelt. I don't know if it's worth $500 or not. I'll never forget that. That's a memory. I was laughing so hard because he was the one that died, but literally got off in the first shot fired, killed that $500 horse.
God, that would suck so bad.
In the first game, if you don't know what you're doing, it takes forever to get money, you know.
Yeah. The second game is so easy to find the gold to have. You can have so much money.
I'll never forget on the second game that I didn't have a lot of money because I didn't really know where to look for it until the first time I got that gold bar from the German family at the third camp.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I just remember I was like, holy cow. And I was like, I bought guns and hats and saddles.
Yeah, there's a lot of money you can find in that game, like gold bars, a lot.
Well, I didn't know if I could keep it if I died, so I went and fenced it and sold it as quick as I could. And, you know, I didn't want to lose that. And then I realized they're literally everywhere in the game.
There's so many places you can find them.
How many of you guys have walked by the camp box with $10,000 in your pocket, put in 20 cents just to make yourself feel not guilty?
Well,
yep.
I think that mission with Mary in San Denis, and she's like, oh, Arthur, let's run away together. And he's like, but I need the money. I'm sitting there with stacked money.
You had almost $1 billion worth of money at the time.
That is so hilarious when Dutch starts spewing that. We just need a little more money.
And
I'm like, well, I'm going to spend it now because come to Guarma, we're not going to have nothing when we get back.
Right.
Yep.
That's the one thing I hate about that game. Well, no, the Guarma mission. But the things I hate is the two, obviously, spoiler alert, Arthur dies, and you can't help it. Your horse dies. Everything dies. You lose everything and start over. You do it at Guarma, too. And I hate that.
I don't know. When I get back from Guarma, as soon as you complete that first mission,
you get your guns back.
Well, I got my money back.
Oh, I got my money back, too. Yeah.
Oh, maybe you did. I just didn't remember. I know you don't get it back in the prologue.
You know what you do? You know, if you the brother and sister, the incest couple.
Yeah.
You let them rob Arthur right before Arthur goes to die, and then when you go back as John, you can rob them, and all the money's still there.
Huh. Cool.
That's how you get your money as John. That's how you can get all that money real fast.
I did
not
know that. All I know
you use them as a secret bank, basically.
Sheldon and I were playing, like talking on the phone, texting back and forth, like playing it. We were waiting for each other to catch up to parts. I just remember Sheldon texted me something to the effect of, I just gave my life for my best friend, died of tuberculosis on the mountain, and woke up to some woman chewing my ear off and complaining. I will give you that. She complains a lot.
Oh my God. Yeah. And it's like, what else would you expect for, you expect them to do? Some of the stuff, it's like, he did the right thing.
Do not pick up your guns, John. Do not get your guns out of that box. They're killing people in the front yard. Don't touch those guns.
Don't touch those guns. How dare you?
Sorry, Abigail.
High
I'm putting them on.
maintenance.
Yeah, no kidding. Do not touch those guns, John. Are you stupid? No, but we're all going to die if I don't, so I'm going to get them on.
Yeah, I was like, you get a nice, peaceful death. Because I had high honor, Arthur.
Yeah.
Nice, peaceful death, good music.
And all you hear is,
I was like, damn. I thought, with all the peaceful stuff, I think Arthur would have went to heaven.
Here we are with Abigail in the wagon.
So let's talk about everybody's favorite mission of the game, the house building one.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. A lot of people I noticed don't like it, but I like the epilogue better than the rest of the game.
the epilogue is fun. Building the house is fun.
Yeah. Right? You can buy a house now. Buy a house, yeah. Right down there in town.
I'd say the epilogue's better than playing as Jack Marston, but I put it as right above.
Oh, you lost internet.
Yeah, see what happens when you badmouth the epilogue? See what happens? That's perfect. Hey, Duke, smile and raise your eyebrows if you think the epilogue is better than the rest of the game.
There he is.
Oh, man. What were you about to say? You rated only above Jack Marston?
Yeah, I put it as right above playing as Jack. I like playing as Arthur. I don't know. I just don't like playing as John in the epilogue.
Well, you're technically still playing as Arthur. They just put his head on Arthur's body.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's like there's a difference between John and the second and the first one.
There is. He's a lot more cynical in the first one. Like, he hasn't got that far yet.
In a way, too, he seems more mature in the first one. Of course, he's a little older.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he seems much more mature and much.
John in the second one is an idiot.
Yeah, he starts off as an idiot. He seems like a dumb kid in the beginning.
That's kind of what he is, right? That's why.
I guess so.
He's like in his 20s or something.
Yeah, and he's been there since his teens, but he's in his early 20s, but he's also spent a year and a half away from them because he ran out on Abigail when he found out she was going to have a baby. And that's where Arthur was like, which is kind of a strange progression through the game when you think about it. Because at the very first, Arthur was like, I'm never having anything to do with John again because he left the gang, broke the code. And then by the end, Arthur's telling John, get out of here. So that's the progression, right?
Yeah. I was watching a video on this, pointed out, I never noticed it before, but Arthur talks about his boy dying.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got that psychological thing there of like John ran out on his kid and Arthur would do anything to get his back.
Yeah. No kidding. That is true. The character development in the game is spot on. Both games are, you don't realize it until you study it, but the name of the game is Red Dead Redemption. So what's going to happen is there's going to be redemption and somebody's going to die. You know that when you start. And that's why people were like, when 3, we need to go back and play as a young Dutch. And some other people were like, no, because Dutch doesn't have a redemption arc ever. So it wouldn't work.
No, they'll have to come up with another character.
Yeah, you can't.
That's the only thing that would make sense. They have to come up with another character.
Yeah. And
the only thing that could make sense.
Because in the first one, they didn't really go into detail about the gang that much because it was such a smaller game because it was, smaller hardware limitation on that original game. And so they had a lot of room to develop. Now they kind of box themselves because we have everything from the newspaper clips from 1880s where they're literally pretending to be like 1881. They're pretending to be Jesse James. They rob the bank and give the money to everybody, and they're like, "This is a James gang robbery," but you can tell by the implications that was Dutch Jose and Arthur doing this robbery. So we know kind of where they've been. So they've kind of painted themselves in a corner with all the information they gave us.
Yeah. Unless they, I don't know what they would do because they don't even really add room for any other character.
I mean, that
because it kind of just shows to be, Dutch, Arthur, and Hosea.
That they kind of both games. They both have the setting of the Old West is dying.
Yeah, it's
the
point of it.
And then, like, one thing I remember is in the first one when you play as Jack and you read a newspaper, it says war in Europe, and it talks about the beginning of World War One.
Yeah.
And that's so interesting because that's such a cool piece of history that we touch on it a lot in a lot of Westerns, but you never really delve into it. But I feel like the whole, like you just said, the whole mood of the games is our way of life is going out. I would like to see one where we're like, this is the way of life and it's going to be this way for like 30 years and we're just getting started. I think that would be cool to see.
I think it would be kind of neat for them to start off like right at the end of the Civil War.
Yeah, I think they're.
It'd be neat, but I don't know.
Arthur model.
Do what?
A young Arthur model floating around still.
Yeah, that's what the I was telling them about. Have you seen that one of the not young Arthur, but the Arthur that they had? What do they call it? Like the first version of Arthur, where he had the leather jacket with the zipper and the blue jeans and the black beard. He looked like Rip from Yellowstone or something. Looked just like him. It's like he looked like a 2010 cowboy, but somebody said don't do that. Hey, Pabloid's in. He said punitive horse skinning. I might have to get a game system. Yes, you might have to.
You know what would be fun though is if they did do that another prequel and like still have the roving gangs as like be out in the West where you still got the roving like the Native American tribes that are out fighting with everybody.
That'd be cool.
It would be so hard. I mean, I don't know if they could do it right though. Like Sheldon said, they might really mess that up. But if they did it right, I'd be all for it.
Make them mindless, NPCs that you just start shooting. That's gonna raise issues.
Yeah.
That's true.
And don't just throw them in to say we have them here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I mean, honestly, I like Charles as a character, but I kind of wish they just made him just a full blood or something. Kind of lost that. But as a character himself, he is a good character.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen maybe a couple of the Rings Falls, Eagle Fly missions. But I felt like they had so much potential with Charles there in those stories that we could have dealt more with him, But we didn't, so it's beyond now.
Well, the thing with Charles' character too, like being the mixed blood with the African American and Native, is that was a thing, like down in Oklahoma in there, because you had former slaves that went over into there and then took on Native wives and
Cherokee Jack Jackson.
Yeah, and some of them became scouts, Seminole scouts.
Yeah, Black Seminoles.
Yep.
The only thing I got against Charles is that first level where he made me use that stinking bow. And I never used the bow again for the rest of the game.
I love using the bow.
I never cared
It's
for
fun
it.
using the
Once
bow.
I found dynamite arrows, man.
Nah, I'd like to stay a little more grounded.
It's fun using the bow on the what the heck are they called? Butcher Brothers?
Oh, yeah. Skinners.
They'd be sitting there and the arrows flying from both directions.
That's the one thing that drives me nuts in the epilogue is those Skinner brothers. Yeah, I can't ride through tall trees without the whole time I'm fighting them.
Yeah, that's how because now if you have a semi-auto shotgun with fire ammunition, Dragon's Breath or whatever it is, you're good to go. I actually like fighting the Skinners. I tell you what, I got nervous the first time I played it through because I was so much like Uncle was my character. I still liked him from the first game, and when they got him strung up over that fire, I'm like, and I thought he was because it's Red Dead Redemption. People die at a heartbeat, It's like main characters, the main character. So I was like, well, then I thought about it and I was like, well, it doesn't make sense that he could die because he's going to be here.
Yeah.
But still, it's not like it makes me cringe, but I feel like that mission was one that got a lot of emotion out of me. Like, I felt like this is really serious stuff, you know?
I don't know. It seems like I noticed there as I was playing through this last playthrough is like when you start out, when you've got to mess around with the O'Driscolls, is like they ambush you, but not real regular.
Yeah.
And then you go down to Lemoyne, and the Lemoyne Raiders start ambushing a little more regular. And then you wind up over with the Murphy Brood, and they start ambushing more regularly. And then you get over there to Tall Trees, and it's like I said, I can't do it right through Tall Trees. I'm ambushed every 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of loot that has to be done.
One thing that gets me is in Beaver Hollow, after you take over the cave, there's a first ambush where they just spring out of nowhere and they get the Murphy Brood. The 2 playthroughs I have done, both times they got me. And because I didn't see what weapons I had, and I had the Cattleman with just the regular bullets and a double barrel for some reason when the second playthrough, that did not help.
Yeah.
You guys ever
they set traps for you too.
Yeah.
You ever camp and they literally show up while you're camping, talk to you, basically like stay out of here, we'll kill you?
There was I took off after him because my horse bucked me, so I took out after him on foot because for whatever reason they ran from me, and I'm like, that's kind of weird, but I'm gonna go kill them all anyway.
Oh, I know what's happening there.
And there's a freaking tiger pit trap.
Yep.
And I fell into
Your horse.
And
I ran into that one too, but I put 2 and 2 together. Oh, it's the Murphys, and they took off in the trees. And I was like, oh shit, no, there's gonna be a trap in there. So I just hopped off the horse and started shooting them. And instead of following their direct line, I got up and around them.
Yeah, I just kind of went after him, never gave it a thought, and I was like, boom, fell in that thing. And then unfortunately, I'd killed enough of them before then that when I came to before the rest of them pounced on me and shot me up, so I was able to beat them. But I was like, what the heck? First, I thought I was going to glitch and go through the forever fall, but
for 5 seconds.
But the thing is, if you play the missions with them first, and then because you can literally wipe them out in the missions to the point they won't attack you anymore, then you can right there. I have to say, I am not a Willie Nelson fan, but he does appear in this game. Well, he doesn't appear, but his voice is singing. And when you get to that part of the epilogue where they start cranking up Cruel, Cruel World, to me, that's like, all right, we've made it. Not even Arthur's death. That's all like, yeah, okay, that's part of it. But when we get to Cruel, Cruel World, it's like you start sitting back and relaxing, like, I got this. It's done. Pretty close to
You know what kind of sucks about this whole game? My wife loves it, but I've never got her to complete. She got right to the last mission, and she won't play it as Arthur.
You have to either be...
she won't even... She hasn't played the epilogue or nothing. And this has been, 4 years now. I'm like, you got to finish playing it. Like, she loved this game. And the second she knew that Arthur was going to die, she got right to that mission. It's like, I'm not playing it anymore. And it's like, you're ruining it. There's so much good. They did it so well that you have to at least experience it.
She never got to build her house, huh?
Nope.
I do like that one.
By the way, I have seen somebody actually... you can kill Micah in the mission when you go back for the gold. Yeah, it is possible, but it's a glitch, kind of, because they put a hitbox on him that some guy figured out how to keep from getting stabbed by him, and he would kind of have the step where he can then punch him. He did this for a good 45 minutes, right? And it finally actually killed Micah, but the game is just still shows you're in the fight, but you're all by yourself as Arthur. So technically he won and didn't die, but yeah, the game glitches out.
My favorite thing I discovered you can do is when Micah's up there in the hills hiding before you do that stagecoach mission with him, is you can ride up there and get on the hill on top of him and then throw sticks of dynamite at him. It doesn't kill him, but it flings him all over the place. I sit up there and I just kept throwing, throw a stick of dynamite, and he goes, blows. As soon as he starts getting up, throw another one. He takes off running for his horse. Boom! He gets flung again. It's fun.
What's so driving about this game is we all know these characters in real life. I mean, you know an Arthur, you know a Dutch, you definitely know a Micah. Everybody knows one. It's just this is taken up a notch to 10, you know.
Yeah.
No law, no rules from the law. It was not a thing to laugh about at all, but during my playthrough at the very end, Hurricane Milton. Let's go. Every time you turn on the news, we're getting chased down by Milton again. Which Milton is the bad guy, the Pinkerton. Well, can you say they're bad guys? I mean, there's a guy on YouTube, I sent Snapper a text, I think it was him or Duke, who does the actual kill count as Arthur if you play through as normal. You've killed over 1,100 people, and that's the size of Fort Worth, Texas in 1899. Maybe there's a little bit of an issue here, right?
Well, it's the thing of where you're playing as a character, so to you, he's the good guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
We know.
You know what's fun?
Even though he's a killer, he's he's a thief. He's a brute, especially when you do the Strauss missions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we can all say that it's Strauss who killed Arthur.
Yep. Old Thomas Downs with his sickness.
And it was Micah that turned Dutch.
Yep.
Well, was more manipulative than Dutch was.
Dutch might have held on. Okay, here's a point to argue. If he doesn't hit his head in Saint Denis in the streetcar robbery, does he go full on Dutch?
I think so, because after I mission,
I think so.
Different.
I think
I heard the actors actually talking about that. They actually had an opinion on that, and they said the same thing. They believe that he was already like that. That just turned it up from like a 10 to 11.
I think it's one of those things that if Micah would have died earlier in the game, Dutch wouldn't have went that bad that fast.
But it was always there, though.
But Micah was getting in his ear.
Yeah. You don't think Micah was bringing out a little bit of something that was... I mean, to live Dutch's life, you have to have a little bit of that in your...
But if you read some of Dutch's letters and stuff that he's written, he's crazy.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
His letters make no sense.
Mm-hmm.
So he's either suffering from schizophrenia or he's completely psychotic.
Well, remember, he bases all his stuff on a lot of his ideals and ideology on one book of Arthur that you do find in the game, and he's just like, "Yeah, I'm sorry about your friend, kind of an idiot for following that," even though.
Yeah, you actually meet the guy who makes the book and stuff in the epilogue. It's John.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
and that guy actually kills himself too, kinda. He starves to death in his cabin.
And then there's it's a see it or it's a miss it, one of those small camp conversations. But when they're in at the plantation house, Lenny and Dutch will sit there and have a talk, and Dutch is talking about the Arthur, and Lenny's just kind of like, he says a lot without saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
And Lenny's way more educated than Dutch is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's funny because Dutch lived through 2 major redemption arcs of his guys, but he literally just kept declining on both of those redemption arcs, right?
Yeah.
It's so funny when you're first in Red Dead Redemption 2, obviously the snow levels, I don't care for the snow levels, I hate them.
Yeah.
They look pretty the first time you watch it, and then the second time you're like, get me through here, get me through here, get me through. But if you watch him in the first cabin with the O'Driscolls when they first rescue Sadie, that Arthur or that Dutch believes in what he's doing it to some extent. Fast forward all the way to 1911 in Red Dead Redemption when you're in Blackwater with the doctor, right? In the second story of the hotel room. Dutch says, "John, come out here." And John says, "Why?" He says, "We're going to kill you." And John says, "What for?" He says, "For sport, I guess." You're like, what happened to this character? And we did see it. We saw a lot of it in Red Dead Redemption 2. But that character is such a study. It's just so interesting to me to see from the guy who saved Sadie from Micah in the beginning to that Dutch.
Even Sadie says that Dutch you put a blanket around me ain't the same Dutch at Beaver Hollow.
Yeah, no kidding.
And there's
Good.
when Dutch shoots Micah at the end, that is kind of a little bit of a redemption because Dutch realizes that Micah is a big reason that a lot of this fell apart.
Yeah.
But
I think Dutch knew right when Arthur died. Dutch knew Micah was the rat.
Yep, it was over. Man,
And
yeah,
he
and
just
we
didn't
mentioned that
admit he was
before.
wrong.
Some people are trying to say now that Abigail was the rat. The game tells you Micah was the rat.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's like one of those things where even though you plainly tell people to their face what it is, they're like, no, it can't be. They need to think of.
When you get to the top of the mountain and Micah's there, a rat runs in front of him. That's how blatantly in the face they're like, this guy's the rat. But no, the game.
I mean, even Milton says it. I mean, straight up.
Yeah, but didn't you know Milton was just trying to throw him off?
Oh, that's right.
I just think it's one of those things where even if you get told it and it's the fact, but you just don't want to believe it.
Well,
because you want to see something deeper.
It does make fun storytelling and fun videos, I guess. So
Yeah. You know what I always find interesting is how they always bring up the girl on the boat mission at Blackwater. How that kind of really started. That the way the game makes it sound, that's when he went bad. Is the second he killed that innocent girl on the boat.
Yeah, and it's a callback to number 1 where he does it in 1911 to the girl in the bank.
Yeah. Well, it even in the first one, he even talks about like when you meet the strange man.
Yeah.
He was like, "Do you know me?" He's like, He ends up just bringing up the girl on the boat that Dutch killed.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's like because when you like read Arthur's journal, it sounds like him and Hosea, they had a good plan going on in Blackwater. And then Micah comes out of nowhere saying, hey, this boat, let's do this boat job instead. And
yeah, because Micah and Arthur weren't there. Or Hosea and Arthur.
Yeah, they weren't in the boat. They weren't at the actual.
They were going to go do their own thing, and then that happened, so they have to scatter. But it's just like that thing of, it's obvious that Micah was like the sole reason why everything went down. Because look, he joins, and then like within, what would you say, 6 to 7 months, it's all gone. Because after you rescue Micah, or when you go rescue Micah from Strawberry, Arthur says, I've heard so much crap out of your mouth the last 6 months. Even in the journal says that Micah joined in like last 6 months, and then everything just starts going downhill. And then because Dutch is very egotistical, has a big ego,
and he plays to it. And Micah plays to his egotistical side.
Like, saying, "Oh, you're so smart, you're a good leader," it's feeding into his ego. So,
and
then he's like, look at Arthur, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing his own thing. Why is he disappearing for extended periods of time?
And it just gripes you because we all know that guy too. We've been doing a job or something for like years and years and years, and then the new guy comes in, tries to take over,
and then when they get back from Gorma, sorry Garrett, but it's like just real quick. But when they get back from Gorma, they all they go to Lakay, and then out of nowhere, Bill comes in. I've been asking everywhere for you, and finally someone said you guys are out here. But later on in Beaver Hollow, Micah's like, "Oh, we were okay in Lakay." Then he's talking to Arthur. He's like, "Oh, we're doing okay." But as soon as you showed up, the Pinkertons showed up. Even though Bill was saying that he's asking everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just gripes me so much because that's like the guy I'm with Arthur. It's like, we've been here 20 years. You've been here 6 months. And you literally destroyed the whole thing in 6 months. Greatest line in the game. As high honor, Arthur's dying. Yeah, he's a rat, Dutch. He's a rat. And then he looks at him and looks at Dutch. He says, I gave you all I had. And I'm sitting here thinking, literally to the end of his life, even though he helped John out, he did not leave Dutch. When he said, I gave you all I had, I'm like, that's legitimately the truth. So that was my favorite line in the whole game.
So when it comes to off-wall weird stuff in the game, what is your favorite?
UFO.
Serial killer. Vampire. Sorry, vampire.
Vampire.
Yeah, which he's not actually a vampire, but they play it up as. That's
Did you know if you drag him to the church, he dies?
Yeah, the little tiny church.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like it's not like he died. I don't know, but he's not. He's obviously not a vampire because you can drag him around in the sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's a Twilight one. He's just getting a little salty.
He's Blade,
But
Daywalker.
the ones I like are the UFOs.
I like doing weird experiments in the game with the story. For instance, like you know how Dutch was talking about Micah, like that one mission you can go there and you can throw up dynamite and see him walk like blow up.
Yeah.
In the game, I don't know if they fixed this yet, but right at the end of that mission where you get ambushed and robbed and you win and Micah starts riding off. If you get on your horse, you can catch up to Micah. And he is possible to kill with dynamite, and you can get his guns. But he's still alive in the game. It's kind of a little glitch.
Yeah.
And in the beginning of Chapter 2, when you go to the gunslinger mission where you meet the guy in the bar, and he gives you the camera, if you go around back and you throw dynamite at the cabin, what is his name? I keep forgetting the guy's name. The actual gunslinger himself. He'll run out, and it's actually possible to kill him and get his guns early in the game too, because you get his guns at the very end of the game, Chapter 6. You can get his guns there too.
Yeah, did you know you can? I never knew this till recently. In Saint Denis, you can capture the kid who steals your.
Yes, you can capture him. Yeah,
I've done it once. When I was playing, I was just using mouse and keyboard because I would switch the controller. I followed a very specific route to catch that little shit. And when I came to target and hit the button, I did that with the controller. It still acted up on me. So they used to say I downloaded.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. There's a couple spots where you can get them.
Yeah,
but
this one was
you have to be right on them to get it.
I got on the horse.
In a little area, he'll spawn. But yeah, I did that. Still got away like you little.
Yeah.
I stole a horse and I caught him as he was jumping off of the
trolley
car. Yeah.
Yeah, I never caught him. I didn't even know it was possible until somebody said
I've done it
something.
once.
There's a spot on the roof. If you turn right and not chase him, he'll come down and to the right, and you can get him there.
That's where I
That's
got
the only
him.
spot I know where I can get him.
That one. Yeah. I got him on the roof.
I try to catch him in the alleyway because if you wait in a certain spot, he just spawns in front of you.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
That'd be a cool way to do it. Yeah, because
it's funny when you catch him. He's like, "I've been a good boy. I wash." It's like,
we all love Valentine, but I would say second. It's weird because, like Snapper says, the first time you see it, you're like, "Oh, this is gross and disgusting." When you get to Saint Denis, but I really do kind of enjoy the Saint Denis missions. I really like driving that little submarine around and blowing stuff up in the pond, submarine.
Oh,
but I think that's probably my second favorite after Valentine.
I still think the electric mission where you electrify that guy, that was a pretty funny mission too. Especially if you find out the reason why you go capture the guy. That's
well, it's mostly just because everything's right there, and it's easy to get to stuff. But if you don't take your time, that's where you get all your bad honor because you accidentally run people over with your horse. Don't ask me how. It happens a lot. But yeah, what do you think, Dick? Second, or maybe Valentine's not your favorite place in the game.
I like Valentine, and then it'd have to be Strawberry.
Yeah, Strawberry the town.
Yep.
Yeah, that is interesting because the place where Sean gets blasted in Strawberry, it's like so abrupt. It's like, and it's
you mean that's Rhodes?
That's Rhodes.
Oh, Rhodes. Yeah, not Strawberry. I meant Rhodes. But I was just thinking, I don't really like that level for a lot of reasons, but that's the first time when they just blow his head off and you're sitting there. And that's for people who never played the first game. I think that's the first time it sinks in. Oh, anybody can die.
They changed graphics on that in an update at some point. Because when I first played through that, like his whole face gets blown off.
If you're bad honor, it does.
But
good honor, it's not quite so bad.
Well, see, when I played the first time, I had good honor all the way through, but yeah, I remember the first time I played is like, his whole face got blown off, and after that, it was just a bullet hole out. So I just thought they'd done an update because too many people complained.
Probably because I never update because my PlayStation isn't hooked up to the internet.
Okay, if you've never updated Garrett, what you need to do if you never had yours hooked up, because it's the funnest thing to do in the game, is when you go up to where you go take a bath, you put dynamite on the door. Okay.
Oh,
go pay for a bath, and while you're walking through, hit the Y button to light the dynamite, and he'll die while he's in the bath. And when you respawn, you kind of can respawn naked, so it's kind of really funny when you put clothes on. Because after I do that, I usually get the little drill sergeant style hat and the Atlas chaps, and that's kind of how I play the rest of the game. But there's a lot of really funny things you can do if you take advantage of little things like that in the game.
There's another way you can do it where you get wanted before you go into the bath, like right as you're walking in.
They'll come in there with you.
They'll come in there. Yeah,
jump out of the tub and you're naked, and you just go through the rest of the game naked.
What were you gonna say, Sheldon?
Yeah, that's the second time Snapper brought up getting killed in the bath.
Yeah, you get killed in the bath a lot in that game. You can. There's many ways you can do it.
Oh.
I just like finding ways to break the game, to make the game just do weird things. I don't know why that's super fun to me.
I don't know. I just like going in the bath so I can get the assistance.
No.
Yeah, Justin Colt in the comment section said, I hated the controls in that game. I literally went and talked to the guy at the bank, hit the wrong button, and shot him. That happens.
Oh, yeah. That does happen a lot.
If you think the controller is laggy with that game, if you try a mouse and keyboard, you got a lot of buttons to keep track of. I pointed guns at people I didn't want to point guns at, and that was it. You can't talk to them after that.
That sucks so bad too, because you're not trying to, and that happens. You're like, oh, great, here it goes.
East and Sand and they're like, hey, put it down. If you do that in like Valentine, you're just like, boom, you're dead.
One thing I noticed though on my playthrough is it was really glitchy because at one point the O'Driscolls jumped me and my horse just refused to get out of a walk. I had a heck of a time getting him to do anything.
I had a strange glitch that I didn't know about. Then I looked it up, and it's pretty common. If you ride outside of roads at night, going down the road, there's a giant golden flower in the road. Like, what's that? So you ride over onto it, and your horse bursts into flames, and you do too. Your horse is revivable, but you can't revive him because you can't get into the flames to give him the shot. And so if you do that, your horse is just dead.
So this one time, this was like a couple weeks ago. I was playing as John, and I was trying to ride out to Armadillo, and I get off the plains. I'm gonna get to a little forested area between McFarland's ranch and the plains.
Yeah, and
this happens. I've noticed if you ride your horse too fast, is all of a sudden someone's gonna spawn in front of you. I had a head-on collision with the horse, and I had no horse revive. The horse I smacked into died. My horse is on the ground dying. Luckily, there was a horse nearby I could take. It was just like they just spawned out of nowhere, so I had to go with a very slow horse. I should have just been a mule, all the way to Blackwater, by the horse survivor, and then go all the way back. I'm like, oh god, my horse is gonna die before I even get there. Luckily,
I hate when that happens. And then the guy always tries to kill you too. If you end up, if he runs into you or you accidentally run into him, then he pulls his gun out and tries to shoot you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one thing they broke in the game. That's not right. Or when you used to put it on run, if the train's there, he'll run right into the train and kill the horse and himself.
So
if you put it on cinematic mode when you're riding.
Yeah.
I was playing through this time, and you know the mission where you steal the stagecoach from the guys that stole it and take it to Emerald Ranch?
Yeah.
Well, when you do that, your idea is you're supposed to take the stage back to wherever you left your horse because your horse doesn't follow you to that mission. And I wasn't using the stage, the Emerald Ranch stage, so I thought, well, I'm going to run back to where my horse was. And so I run around the back of the fence barn there, and there's this little bitty donkey. And I think to myself, I've never tried this before. Can you do it? So we can mount it up. I rode that little bitty donkey all the way back to Valentine. Didn't get mad on her or anything. My feet were dragging the ground, glitching. But they let you ride that little bitty baby donkey all the way back to Valentine. So, of all the bad guys in the game, what do you guys think is your favorite bad character? Mine is Angela Bronte.
Who?
And the first one of you that says Catherine Braithwaite.
Duke probably has different motives for her, but we're not going to get into that.
My favorite bad guy's Dutch.
Oh, yeah. What do they think, Snapper?
Sheriff Gray's kind of interesting because he's always drunk.
Yeah.
Favorite bad
I always love him talking about how we got to clean up this town. There's moonshine out there, and he's just drunk as hell on moonshine. Excuse my language.
Like, favorite bad character, like main story or like a side mission?
Whatever you want.
That would be between Angelo Bronte and the serial killer.
Yeah.
Alphonse Valentine.
That is crazy because I didn't notice it in my first playthrough, and I noticed it. That last one was my fourth, but I noticed that. Man, I love that serial killer mission, hunting down the serial killer. What is his name though? I can't remember his name.
Edmund Laurie or something.
Yeah, Edmund Laurie.
Yeah, that's fun.
Ooh, the theater. Going to the theater with the guy trying to catch the bullet in his mouth, and he asks you to shoot him. If you use a shotgun, it's hilarious. You shoot him in the no-no bits. It's so much funnier.
And go to the theater and wear out the heckling button circle.
Yeah, that's fun too. The lady will catch herself on fire if you do that. The lady who's yeah.
Well, guys, I'm going to have to run, so I'll catch y'all later.
All right. We're going to close her down here anyway pretty quick.
Yeah.
Thank you, Duke. All right, guys. Let's get through a few more of these comments, and we'll shut her down here in about 10 minutes if that works for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so a few comments here. Let's see. Joshua Harris said, I would love to see what actually happened in Blackwater. I think all of us would.
I think they would have to have that in the third. If they do any kind of extra prequel, they need to have that.
Well, there's a couple of characters that could have a redemption arc there that they mentioned, two brothers, and I can't remember their names.
Oh, yeah, and the one who dies also in the...
Mac.
Yeah, Mac Callender. Is that Callender? Yeah.
They talk about how he was a good guy.
Yeah, they could use him.
Oh, no.
I think Rockstar is kind of done with single player DLC because they can't make too much money off of it.
And I hope they don't just drop it, but they might. Let's see. Silent Green said, "Yeah, into the Civil War and into the Indian Wars at the height of the Wild West would be neat."
It would be.
Excuse me. West Covina Dodge said, "I never took you guys for gamers." I think that's literally Sheldon shtick. I'm not ashamed of it. It's modern. Like I said, this is just like movies.
If you would have asked me 5 years ago, I wouldn't even touch a video game. I kind of thought they were always kind of childish and whatnot. And even when I was in the military, like everybody would play video games when we get off mission, like in Iraq and stuff. I hated playing video games.
Yep.
And it wasn't until, honestly, the only way I liked playing it is recently, and it's mostly been, Red Dead.
I play the old ones still, all the old systems from Atari to Nintendo 64.
Oh, I enjoy those. As a matter of fact, I still enjoy those. But I
don't
play
very many modern games because I don't have time. But I will
play. A bunch of good modern games that are short. But...
Yeah. I mostly, but like if a Red Dead Redemption comes out, I think we're all going to play it because I was explaining it to my dad one day, and I was like, it's literally, we just live in this 1890s world for a few hours.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's very beautiful. It's serene. You can play the game if you want, go hunting if you want. It could be, or just, literally live in an 1890s simulator. What historic reenactor wouldn't want to do that,
And I can't wait to try this because we have it all finally. And I just got to get my son to download some stuff to do it. But the VR goggles and stuff, hook it up to Red Dead. You can play Red Dead in first person view. They have a mod for that. I want to do that so bad.
Yep. Let's see. Justin Colt said we've gone a long way since first game on. I'll add to this comment. First game on PS2, and then we got Red Dead Redemption on PS3, Red Dead Redemption 2 on PS4, and now have Red Dead Redemption on PC. How many years has it been? Literally, let's see, it came out in 2010.
15 almost.
15 years later.
14, 15 years, yeah.
Now, did you play it on and obviously not PC? Did you play it on Sheldon when you first played it? The first game. What did you play it on, Sheldon? The first game when you first played it?
Xbox.
Yeah. So I thought you're a PC guy now, though, aren't you?
Yeah. I was really big into the Halo franchise back in 2010, around there, so I had Xbox.
I thought you were going to say keyboard master race, filthy controller peasants.
I only got PC recently, and I still use the controller because that's a lot of keys to keep track of. I can type. That's different, though.
Yeah. Sheldon, what movie do you think portrays natives best, in your opinion, that you have seen? Soylent Green asked.
I don't know. Like, no, anything. One movie I want to rewatch and so I can form a new opinion is Little Big Man. I heard that one's really good. I only seen that movie I remember is when the Cheyenne woman jumps out the teepee, and they thought I forgot who the main character is, but who plays the main character, but he thought he was gonna get killed, but instead she, kills the dog and makes soup out of it.
What about movies that are made like just for you guys, such as like Dreamkeeper? Sorry,
Dreamkeeper is more modern. If you want to call it 2001 modern, like the costumes and stuff, and that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's a few. I mean, I don't watch a lot of movies. I mean, I watch a lot of movies. Just when it comes to stuff like that, I kind of know that it's just gonna be a western, so I think it'll be 100%.
Yeah.
Dances with Wolves. If you can find the TNT movie, A Crazy Horse, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the Into the West series.
You like Son of the Morning Star?
Yeah, that's a good one. Last 10 years, there really hasn't been a lot of good westerns with good native representation.
Yeah, I was about to say, please don't say The Revenant.
That's the best one of all time. South Dakota looks beautiful.
Yeah, I know. It was pretty nice, wasn't it?
Right.
Probably have people moving in out of Colorado. Soylent Green said, they were the Skinner brothers. I forgot and was calling them the Skeeter brothers.
Skeeter brothers.
Well, I called Butcher brothers earlier. So
Joshua Harris said, Murphy Brood for me was the worst. Space Art said, you can get lost in RDR2. The world space is just breathtaking. That and all the things you can do.
That's what I was going to say when Duke was there. Sorry, Garrett. I found the nudie pictures.
The what?
The nudie pictures.
Yeah, they're in the game. There's two places to find it in the game.
That's what I was going to tell Duke. I spaced it out.
Soylent Green said the redhead snitching, he's talking about Dutch, the redhead snitching that he loved, I think, broke him. That played a big role. I don't know that he loved her. I think he was trying to,
I don't think he loved her anymore.
I think he was trying his best to. Private chat. Oh, Sheldon's been sending me stuff in the private chat, and I didn't even know it was here.
Those are for his Snapper account. I have his email, but it's
Oh, I didn't see the private chat. Oh, hold on.
Yeah, but anyway, Soylent Green said, okay. David W. said Majestic Warrior was a good movie.
Oh, sweet.
All right, guys. Should we break out the old gas station scale for Red Dead Redemption 2?
Sure.
Now, remember, I don't remember which way it goes because we got all confused last time. I think it 1 on the gas station scale is bad. That's 7-Eleven with the bathroom on the outside and the key.
Trucker stop, gas station.
Yeah. And 10 is good, like Bucky. All right.
Like Bucky.
So where are we ranking Red Dead Redemption 2? And obviously we know that there's some things we don't like. We discussed that. But the majority of the hundreds and hundreds of hours you can spend in this game are great for me. But I'll start. I'm going to give this Some of the clothes are off. The holsters we didn't even talk about with Duke. A lot of the holsters are terrible. That bandolier that just I'd never put it on because it looks just goofy. There's some things I don't like about it, but I'm still gonna, as far as good goes, I'm gonna give this a 8 out of 10. I honestly do consider this to be, as far as modern games go, probably the greatest modern game of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Sheldon.
I was gonna say 8 too.
Yeah. Pros and cons.
I would say that's pretty accurate. An 8. Because it's the best way it can get, but it could get better someday.
I wish they just like expanded in some areas. Like, I'm not a big fan of like all of the PD reservation. The feel is like Montana, but they go all the way down to like basically New Orleans to go talk and like, ways to travel.
Yeah,
it's a long ways to travel.
I mean, they've made whole movies about that, like 1883 and Hostiles. They must have took the train.
Right.
Oh, I will say that the one thing we didn't touch on is some of the comedy in it is gold.
Yeah.
Campfire scenes we didn't get into too much talking about, but some of the campfire stuff is just, you just want to live at the camp, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the greatest ones is where in the very first one, Arthur messes up the plunger on the dynamite and then just lets everybody blame Bill for it. And he doesn't have to say a word. Everybody just blames Bill. he just kind of sits back and lets it happen, and it was wonderful. Arthur Morgan, the perfect one. Can do no wrong.
When you screw up, it's one of those things. When I screw up, I'm the idiot.
Yep. Just one of those things. Guns and Water said, one more question. If I get Red Dead Redemption, what platform should I play it on? I think they're all good.
Yeah.
They're all the same nowadays. There's no
whichever one you can find on sale.
Yeah, I would say PS4 if you're really trying not to spend any money, because you can get a PS4 cheap now.
But if you just go ahead and spend the money on a PS5, if they make another one, you might get lucky and already have the system for it.
It took them 8 years to develop the sequel.
And we're at 5 years now.
Yeah.
Oh, we're more than 5, aren't we?
No, yeah, we're like 6 now. But I think that the GTA 6 has slowed everything down.
Yeah.
They still haven't released GTA 6, so.
What year did it come out?
That's where all their attention
18.
is.
Yeah.
Okay, so 6 years, but.
And we've been talking about doing this live stream for 4.
Yep. I think GTA 6 has slowed every single thing down, because GTA 6 was supposed to have been out a while ago now. It's still not even.
I just hope Sheldon's not right, but I think he might be. Single-player campaign games may be done.
Well, that I meant like Rockstar DLCs more.
Yeah.
Because look, 2008 when you had GTA 4, you had 2 DLCs for it.
We never got Red Dead Nightmare 2.
Yep. And then Red Dead, you had Undead Nightmare, and then after GTA Online came out, they realized, hey, these guys are spending real money for these virtual items. We can milk this.
Yeah.
And they have made millions more off of that than they ever will a single player DLC. So
that is true.
So that's why you never see that a single player DLC.
Yeah, everything they do is now going to be online related.
Like Undead Nightmare 2, where like it would be like maybe after Gorma, and Arthur does all the stuff, and he still dies, but he gets to continue the campaign, or like a free roam as a zombie Arthur. That would be cool.
That'd be cool. Donald Benson said Fable 2 led me to 11 Bang Bang for flintlocks, and RDR 2 has led me to my Western gun collection, which got me into Western history. Yeah.
Hey.
Literally, games is now the gateway that movies and TV shows were in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, I've seen some older people getting pissed about, it's a game, kids are wasting their time, they could be outside riding horse, doing all that stuff like I did. Was like, when they sit there and like reminisce about watching John Wayne movies and other westerns.
Yeah, it's just a new medium. I mean, you look about it, what was in the time of Red Dead Redemption 2, if you were reading a fiction Western story and a pulp novel, that was considered taboo.
Yeah.
And then the movies came out and they were like, yeah, don't watch the movies, read the books. And then the TV shows come out and people were like, we like the movies better than the TV serials and series. And so it goes on and on. Well, radio, people would listen to the radio, but we won't watch TV. And now it's we have these movies. Why in the world would you play? It's all the same thing. It's just evolving.
Yeah.
And games are.
And at the end of the day, as long as it keeps us interested in history, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take 3 people to the theater to watch a Western, you've spent more than $60 for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And you can spend $60 on Red Dead Redemption 2 and live in the movie for 200 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes a lot more sense. And it just, they've done things with Red Dead Redemption 2 they could never hope to do in a movie. Ever.
Right.
There's a lot of movie elements to it, too. That's what I think is funny. There's so many nods to popular Western TV or movies and TV shows.
Have you guys seen those Panavision 70s? Or the AI? Yeah, that is cool. Have you seen that, Snapper?
No.
Oh, that is so cool.
Like Snapper said, there's a lot of homages to old Westerns. I was very disappointed that I didn't see the steampunk spider robot.
Let me see if I can draw one of those up right quick. We'll look at it later. But
You know what's actually going to be really neat about video games coming up? Because I saw this demo for this. I don't know where I saw it on YouTube, but AI is now going to be attached to the video game. So when you walk up, they had this game now. You can walk up to any NPC and have a conversation with them. You have a mic now. And you can have a full-blown on conversation with an NPC, any NPC you run into. So they can be planned for whatever. And I'm talking like you could walk up to them and ask them anything, and then they can answer you, or almost like real life, because all they do now is hook AI up to the NPC that you interact with. So you can have any conversation with them at all. And they can do their own thing on their own, too. There was a guy that, it was kind of funny because he was asking them really, like, about his mom and stuff. And they had this whole conversation for like 30 minutes with an NPC about his mom and like her career and what she does in life. It's so weird how far they can take this without even writing now. Yeah. It eventually will be a lot like real life. You can now, any NPC will be interactable and can do anything.
Cat fight.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, last comment here. This guy said, it'd be neat to see you guys do a game stream on Fallout New Vegas. If any of y'all have played it, that would also contribute to my cowboy gun renaissance. I think we've all played that. I played it later, way after it came out. But I never got past Caesar.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
I've never played it.
I'm looking for the duet cover of Big Iron with
Garrett
and Duke.
That is so funny because when that one came out, that one was even before Red Dead 1, wasn't it?
No, they came out the same time, 2010.
Well, I just remember people, like, you'd walk into the store and these teenagers would be singing Marty Robbins music like that I grew up on. I'm like, what in the world is going on? They literally brought Marty Robbins back to, like, #1 on the Billboard for a while.
Right.
And to this day, Big Iron lives because of that game, right?
I like Big Iron, but I think El Paso's the better one.
Yeah, El Paso. You know how many? Have you ever heard El Paso City? The sequel?
No.
You'll have to listen to that sometime where he's flying above in an airplane and he tells more of the story. Well, there's actually 3 songs. There's the build-up story about the girl, and then there's the one where he's flying over El Paso City and he gets this idea for this story to write a song, and then he realizes he's the reincarnated cowboy when he sees the Badlands. Oh, you'll have to listen to that one.
Okay.
Anyway, I think we've.
I'm fortunate to live in the real life.
Yeah.
Freaking Fallout New Vegas. So
yeah.
I don't really need to hear too much about Las Vegas.
Well, what if Las Vegas was stuck in the 50s, Snapper?
You know what? If it was, I might like it. I might actually. I'm getting tired of the desert. I really am tired of the desert. I want greenery. I want rain. Mm-hmm. Like if it rains, everybody goes outside and just looks up. It's the weirdest thing ever because it's so strange because it's so rare here.
Supposing,
But-
Snapper, you were in Las Vegas in the 1950s, and the entire Las Vegas consisted of about 10 buildings on the Strip, and one of them being the Flamingo. And there's nobody there but you.
I actually probably would have loved it.
Yeah.
I probably would have loved it. I'm not going to lie. I love going out in the middle of nowhere here. There is some neat things about living here. There are lots of mines and caves, and there's places you can go where there's nobody for miles around. And it is an interesting thing, right?
That was something I loved about New Vegas was, and like I said, I never finished it. I never had time, but you would pull up, all these desert outpost things from the 50s, and it's like you're in night in the desert, and you pop over this hill, and everything's been black for forever, and you see this little strip, Las Vegas Strip, with these buildings that are lit up like 1950s, and they look nice and everything, and that I was like, all right, I can dig this. I can do this.
Yeah, if you ever just
what's kind of neat is I got so used to this place. Like everything that's old here, they tear down, so there's nothing old. But recently, I kind of really started digging and looking for old stuff, and there's actually quite a few places I've gone here that were built in the 1850s, like a Mormon fort and building that's still here. So that's kind of cool.
That's in New Vegas.
Is it really? The old Mormon fort?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually I think it's 3-4 miles from where I am right now.
Yeah, in New Vegas, a group called the Followers of the Apocalypse make their little base there.
Oh, that's funny.
You can probably literally go right by where your house is out in the desert in that game.
It wouldn't shock me. I heard there's a couple. It might have been that game where they said they actually really mapped out Vegas.
Yeah,
to be really correct. So that wouldn't shock me.
If you ever have the chance and you decide to try a different game that isn't Red Dead, I'd say start with that one.
Fallout New Vegas or New Vegas. Okay.
Put on your your armor and your gas mask, and carry your 10-inch.
You can have a Marlin guide gun in 4570, and you can have a revolver in 4570.
Yep.
Yeah, I would try it.
Or getting chased by a big desert lizard that's gonna kill you because you ain't got the right stuff.
Because usually when that lizard is chasing you, you have a single shot 22.
Right. What do you think? What do you think, guys?
Yep, I think it's time to go down. Oh, so
I've been stuck in bed for 4 days and can't even get out of this stupid bed without help. Freaking ribs and back.
You didn't answer for 2 days. I was starting to get worried about you.
Honestly, you know what it is they gave me these really powerful sleep meds, and they just said keep taking them and you sleep for 2 weeks straight.
Well, hopefully you get better. But I think you.
So that's kind of what I was doing. I rolled over. I was like, holy crap! 30 minutes before the stream, I rolled over. Didn't even know you called, or we were even doing the stream. I was like, you know what? That would be fun.
I did not want you to miss this one because you've been harping on me to do it for 4 years.
Yeah,
we did it, guys. The Red Dead Redemption stream is in the books.
No, I'm being honest. I should have said this at the beginning, but when I was hanging out with Garrett and Duke down by Duke's place, I got the impression that Garrett was saying, "Oh, go home and start it, and then we can do this." And then so that's what I did. I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll just go home and start it." And he's like,
well, we're doing it now." Oh, well, anyway, thank you guys. Thank you for everybody that watched. I promise we'll get back to more of our normal standard historic topics next time, whenever that may be. I don't know. Appreciate everybody coming out. Trust in God. Keep your powder dry. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.